Welcome, everybody, to episode 2 of the Plug and Play podcast, the place where we talk about video games and various topics in the industry. To get started, my name is Alexis. I am joined by Kingdom Hearts enjoyer Cameron. How are you doing this fine afternoon?
What an introduction. I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm doing good. What about you, Henry?
I'm doing fantastic. Good to be here, everybody.
Awesome. So, episode 1, we really enjoyed recording it, talking about various things that was happening during that time. And now with episode 2, there's a lot that we have to go over. So, let's get started with the beginning of our topic, which is talking about the new releases already. There's already a couple titles that have received high scores on Metacritic. And the first one, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, which gained an 86 from Ubisoft, surprisingly. So that's a great hit for them.
Yeah, very surprising.
Yep. Yeah, man. And then we also got Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which is the latest Yakuza game. It's just rebranded to the Japanese name. And also Tekken 8, which just came out yesterday, I believe, which also got a 90, which is very high score for a fighting game. I just wanted to ask you guys, like, what do you think about this year so far? I mean, we just started already in January, and there's still a lot left to go for the year, but I think right now we're already at a strong start.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I mean, I think this is actually a bit surprising to me, a few of these. I'm going to be honest. Like, Prince of Persia 86 is really surprising to me just because it took so long to make this game that I was not expecting it to review well. Like a Dragon, I have played a few Yakuza games, and I am honestly like, I feel like I'm good. I've played like 2, and I'm like, I feel like I'm good. So not really interested in that. Tekken 8 definitely catches my eye. I've dabbled in fighting games. I'm not super into them, but I do enjoy them. So yeah, no, I mean, this is a good start to the year for sure.
Wait, what do you think about, what is it about Yakuza that you don't like? Is there something about the game or?
So it's not even really that I wouldn't even say like I don't like it. I think it's more just they are very repetitive to me. Like that's kind of surprising to me that I run into somebody and they say, "Oh yeah, I've played 10 of them in the last like 3 years," and I'm like, "How?" Because they're so similar. I mean, like, and I'm not at all like hating on the series. I've really enjoyed the 2 that I played. I played Yakuza 0, and then I also played Like a Dragon, and both of those I think last year. And I enjoyed both, but I'm like, like I said, I've played 2, and I feel like I'm good. That's just me.
Yeah, I can hop in there on that too. I've played a few Yakuza games as well. It's a really interesting series because it's a series that really almost died on the vine, especially in the West. I think the first 2 games came out, and then the third Yakuza game, they didn't even localize. It only came out in Japan because it sold so poorly. So it's really weird to see this series just absolutely soar recently. It's taken off massively critically and commercially. And I started playing with 4, and then I played 5 because I really liked 4. And then everybody said, well, you got to play 0. That's like really when the game series kind of took off. And gained a lot of mainstream appeal in the gaming community was 0 because it was the prequel. You didn't have to, it was, kind of branded as the game that you don't have to know anything about the series in order to get in on. And then I played like 30 minutes of the newest one, the turn-based one. I forget which one it's called. I know it's Like a Dragon, but I can't remember if it's, I think it may be Yakuza 7. I can't remember. Thank you. But I agree. These games, I mean, they're very repetitive and not a lot changes from one entry to the next. Obviously, Like a Dragon is very different because it completely changes the game from like a beat 'em up style to a turn-based style, and the protagonist is different and all that other stuff, but that's a really rare thing for this series. This is an annualized series, so there's at least 1 or 2 of these games that come out every year, so there's not a lot of time for them to iterate. The maps stay the same.
Yep.
A lot of the mini games stay the same. Really, all that's changing is maybe some slight tweaks to the combat and then the story. And these games are super long. They're easy, 40 to 60 hours, depending on what you want to do in them. I played 4. I really enjoyed it. But after that, I kind of saw diminishing returns in the series. And it's really surprising to me that this series is people are loving it so much. I mean, it's awesome that it's doing well, but it is surprising to me too.
Yeah, I mean, because I played Yakuza 0. I only played it for like a couple hours because it was in Japanese dub, and nothing wrong with that. It's just that when your game is like in Japanese, you really have to like focus and like stay locked in.
yeah,
So I'm reading
absolutely.
like all the subtitles,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really hyped to start Yakuza 0. I only started like for like a couple hours, then I got off it for some reason, but I really like the setting and stuff. Like it's in Japan. It's like talking about the Yakuza gang and stuff. And then with the new
Sure.
one with Infinite Wealth, it takes place in Hawaii, which is like a new setting, and it has like Ichiban, which is like the new protagonist, and also has Kiryu.
Mm-hmm.
So he's old, so it's like it takes place like after his storyline. So I really liked what I saw from it. I mean, I was looking at like some gameplay. I like that it's turn based. I'm a fan of that. So I'm like I really want to try that because I still have Yakuza 7, but I haven't really like delved deep into it because it's a series that where you have to start from the beginning. So you got to start from 0, which is which is what people recommend. And there's like so many games, and you said that it all feels the same, and the reason why is because they reuse assets for like each game.
Oh yes.
That's why
Mm-hmm.
they always come out like every year or two, and then there's like smaller games like Judgment or like a Dragon Gaiden, which came out in late last year. So with that,
Yeah,
I
it did.
mean, it's just like a series that I mean, I really want to get into it though, like one of these days. But I have to start from the beginning. It's not like other like series where you can start at any point. But this one, you say you have to start from 0 to like get the whole story, which kind of sucks because there's so many games.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, something you hit on there that I fully agree with, and I will go so far as to say, and people feel free to disagree with me here, but I feel like it's a very inaccessible series to get into. I'm going to be honest because it's got this long, stretching, continuous story, and yes, there are jumping on points, right? Like 0 is a prequel, sure, but the thing is, at the end of the day, stuff comes up in 7 that hits way harder if you've played the other games.
I heard that too.
And I think, yeah, I think it's tough to get into because it's like you're faced with this, 8 game series now, or maybe 9. There might be more, and they're all quite long. I would say, to be honest, I've put like 30 hours into the 2 that I played, and then on top of that, they're all so similar that it's like, man, it's tough to envision like somebody jumping in right now and saying, yeah, I'm gonna go 0 through 8 in the next like 2 years, right? Like, man, I wouldn't do it, but hey, more power to them. I think it's cool that it has, like we said, back to kind of the subject at hand, to the Metacritic scores. I think it's great that it has an 89. I mean, the trailer did look intriguing. It's just not really something I had my eyes on personally. So
No,
I
me
like the
neither.
setting though, Hawaii, because it's different from
sure.
Japan, which I also like. I also like that setting
Hmm.
of the where it's like urban and stuff. So Hawaii is a new setting.
It needed a
Oh
shake
yeah,
up
it's like
for
a
sure.
lot of games just like in Japan, which is nothing wrong with that. It's just I think Hawaii was like it makes perfect sense. All right, so is there any other titles you want to talk about? I listed The Last of Us Part Two, which is a remaster. There's also like new gameplay features for like, a roguelike, costumes for the characters. Have you guys like seen about anything about this, or are you guys planning to play this?
I'm not planning to. I played The Last of Us Part 2. I played it when it came out during the pandemic, which is probably like the worst decision you could possibly make, but because that game's just so depressing. But I think the biggest thing to note about this is it's a $10 upgrade if you already own the game, which is a massive thing. Like you'd just assume they would just repackage it as a $60, $70 game. But this is a $10 upgrade for everything they're offering if you already own it in physical or digital form. So I think that's a massive, goodwill move by Sony. But I don't intend on picking it up anytime soon, even though I do own the game. I just have too much to play. Going back and replaying it, it's just not something on my to-do list.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, to be honest. And something you just touched on that I think is so funny to look back on with hindsight is like, do you guys remember when the new consoles were coming out, PS5 and Xbox and Series X, and they were saying yeah, they're going to do these $10 upgrades from PS4 to PS5. It's going to be super often, it's going to typically just be a nominal upgrade, but not every game, right? They never said it was going to be every game, but they brought this up, this $10 thing, as like a super common thing up front. At least that's the impression I got. And it's probably been like, I wouldn't go so far as to say single digit games, but it has not been that often. Like, there's been a lot of things that it's cost quite a bit to upgrade. Or like you say, they just do a $60 version. I was pretty surprised that this was only 10. I've, Henry, or rather Alexis, you kind of hit on the roguelike mode that they added to this. I found that kind of intriguing. I like the combat in this series. I don't know that I like it enough to, consistently go back to a roguelike mode, but I could see myself like diving into it a little bit here and there. I don't know. It's tough to go back to that game for a lot of reasons, and I kind of feel like that's where I fall on that.
Yeah, I think I want to get into it one day. I mean, I got spoiled because when it came out, there was like a lot of leaks and stuff. Like, there was just like all over the place, and I just got spoiled on the story, and it just like turned me off from the game. But I love the first game because of the remaster on the PS4. I mean, the combat was pretty fun. So, I'm excited for this roguelike when I do get into it. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Like any other games that came out this year so far that caught your eye?
Not particularly.
Yeah, these are the big ones. These are the big hitters, and that's a lot of big hitters. I mean, it used to be, games only came out in like November, so you could sell them for Christmas, and now it's February is a massive time. I mean, I think that people started initially moving to February to avoid Call of Duty a long time ago, and now it's just all year long. You're just hit with a barrage of must-play titles, and you really kind of have to start picking and choosing. And I think we've already kind of determined that we've started picking and choosing. Even though these games are getting really, really good reviews, not all of us are going to get to them, and we're perfectly fine with that. And that's just the state of games today.
Yep. And that, that perfectly delves into the next topic, which is from GameIndustry.biz. Nacon executive says it is hard for games to succeed due to too many games on the market. This is the publisher of the new RoboCop game, as well as the infamous Gollum game, which came out last year to raven reviews. I'm just kidding. It was terrible. I mean,
nice.
There was like so much about it. That was pretty bad. There was some interesting things that he said in this article, and one of them he said, we're seeing today the results of investment made after the COVID pandemic, which I think I can kind of agree with because everybody was at home during that time, and a lot of businesses like made like a risky business move about just making like churning out games like real quick or making live service. The funny thing is, like, during this time, Warzone came out like I think in March or something. So that's like people see companies see Warzone as like they see that and like, oh, we should make like a live service game like that, which is why you see like stuff like Suicide Squad, which is barely coming out like next week or in the next 2 weeks.
Very soon.
And yeah, it's very soon, and it's not looking good for that game. So I guess this is just like a result of that. I mean, is there too many games, Henry? You said something. It's funny of who is saying this. Is there too many games right now? Would you agree?
So it is funny who's saying it. So obviously, this is kind of a cope. Like our games aren't selling very well. Well, why? Well, because there's too many games on the market. Well, also you put out Gollum, which was notoriously one of the worst games of the year / possibly ever made. Using a massive IP, using Lord of the Rings, what a ball drop in their department. But I do think that there are too many games on the market for sure. He makes the point in the article. There's like 60 games released a day on Steam. We're talking about 3 massive games came out within the last less than a month of the year starting. It's impossible to get to them all. And they're all, of course, 20 plus hours at the bare minimum. So, you really have to start picking and choosing what you're going to play. And I do agree with that. I just think it's funny that he's the one saying it when really, if your sales are going to fall, It's probably because your game sucks, not necessarily because your competition's too much.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Yeah, yeah, I fully agree. I think honestly, it's kind of ironic to say the least that the publisher of Gollum is saying this. Like you've addressed, like I'm not seeing the through line here of you saying that there's too many games, and then you put that game out, which was clearly rushed. I mean, that they made a statement apologizing for the game coming out, which is like in and of itself already problematic, I think, and just a
Which they
sign.
misspelled Lord of the Rings in.
Yeah, I do
I
remember
saw that.
that. Yeah, and so like it's funny.
Ridiculous.
It's funny to hear him say that, but I do agree as well. I think the biggest example of this I can point to that anybody who uses PC or Switch can attest to, the eShop and Steam are two great examples of just absolutely no quality control. Like there is so many games on there that are, $5-10 that are just absolute trash. Like it's like a
Yeah.
couple JPEGs, right? And like it is
Hmm.
so crazy to me that's even a thing because I think a lot of people just see the big stuff, right? Like they see the Suicide Squad, they see Madden, FIFA, 2K, whatever you want to point to. They see a lot of these big games, and it's like, oh, like 15 games come out a year. It's like you have no idea. Like if you go to Steam and just sort by newly released, you're gonna get inundated. So I do agree. I mean, like there's got to be some kind of slowdown, which honestly, like he says in this article, I think COVID played a huge role in that because everything got sort of put on this weird timetable where they were going really slow when the pandemic first started in their development cycles. And then now we're seeing all of that stuff just come to a head. So there's all these
Hmm.
rapid fire, these games coming out like back and forth, back and forth. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting subject, honestly, and I don't know how like the long term ramifications of this are going to play out. I mean, we talked about layoffs last episode, and obviously some of that is simply the fact that you know it's going on everywhere, and I think some of that's also just the fact that they got their games made, they're starting to come out, and now they're cutting costs. So yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting uh, domino effect for sure.
I wanted to add one more thing about like there's too many games. I mean, just look at like February, like starting like next week. I mean, we got like Persona, we got Suicide Squad, we got Grand Blue, and then you got Helldivers 2, which is the new live service game from PlayStation, and it's also going on PC. But and then you have Final Fantasy 7 at the end of the month, and same with March. It's like so many games, and like I don't think companies realize like people like they need time. So like there's like I feel like there's like two sides of it where there's people that they play, that's all they play, but there's also people that they work full-time jobs or like they have some other hobbies they rather do, and then I guess businesses are like they don't see like how much people really have time for this. I mean, you said Yakuza, like we were talking about earlier, like there's like so many games, like how do you even get like started? Like it'll take you like a year minimum just to like get through all the series if you don't have the time for it. So I mean, he brought up some good points. I agree with him. So well, let's get started with the next topic. So GameStop, the place where you used to buy your games from. I mean, I haven't really bought a game from there since probably like 2018 or 19. So where they're pulling out of the NFT marketplace 18 months after the launch. The reason cited for closure is continuing regulatory uncertainty of the crypto space. I mean, NFTs, I mean, it's just a failure overall. I mean, like NFT cryptos, I mean, you just see like NFT profile pictures online, and I'm just like, what the hell is this? And then you just see now GameStop is just pulling out. I think a lot of companies are just realizing that NFTs is not the future. I mean, also Square Enix, they're also like really huge into like NFTs, and I guess that's probably failing for them as well. So GameStop, I mean, I don't know what were they doing with NFTs in the first place. You want to say anything about this, Henry? You said something about it.
Yeah, obviously this is GameStop floundering per usual. This is a company that has been struggling to find relevancy in the industry for a long time now. Sales for games are kind of moving in a digital direction. We're already kind of seeing a majority of sales move in that direction, and GameStop is obviously a physical retailer. Also, there's just like a lot of bad will stacked up against GameStop over the years. A lot of people feel gypped off of like trades and stuff through that company. I know I used to feel pressured to like every time you'd go into GameStop, they'd always try to upsell me somehow.
Absolutely.
It was all, you know, it is a gamer paradise in terms of you walk in and there's a bunch of games, but there's always like a lot of looming pressure and kind of scumminess behind GameStop. I still have some reverence for the store just because I have a lot of fond memories there, and it is honestly like the only place you can go for video games now. And that's like the last bastion. It's unfortunate they have literally no idea what they're doing. NFTs, obviously not the way to go, especially the way that they're doing them. The funny thing about that is I actually am like, I enjoy technology, and I think NFTs are actually somewhat valuable, especially for GameStop. Is actually like probably the prime company that I would say you can use NFTs for. The unfortunate thing about NFTs is they have a horrible reputation. Bunch of scam artists use them, and like they were only used for like you were saying, profile pictures or like monkeys, you know, like whatever.
The monkeys.
The monkeys.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Paris Hilton going on a talk show and talking about how she has a new NFT that costs, you know, $1 million+ or something like that. Something crazy. It was an obvious like pump and dump scheme. And the thing about NFTs though is what NFTs are essentially at its core is digital ownership. So you own a piece of digital product, which I think would be the next step for GameStop. You would own a digital copy of, say, you know, The Last of Us, and you would be able to trade that into GameStop, and they would give you money for it, and they could resell that digital asset to another customer. It would be a way that their business could survive, but this is them having no idea what it is, riding a bandwagon, riding the wave, and failing at it. And it was an obvious thing that was going to fail. That's my 2 cents, though.
Yeah, this reminds me of, and Alexis mentioned Square Enix. This reminds me, both of these companies, of when you try to introduce one of your older family members to a piece of technology and they have no idea how it works. And honestly, that's the impression I'm getting with these companies, where it's like, yeah, let's invest in this. We're going to make a bunch of money off of it. And then it just goes terribly wrong because they just don't seem to have found their way to leverage it at all. I will say, like, GameStop for quite some time now has been essentially trying to revitalize themselves in a lot of different ways. Like they've shifted a lot of their stores like out of business. They've shifted a lot of their sales to more like online focused. I know they did a whole revamp with like the Game Informer connection that they had, which for years people were like, you know, hugely into. Which is kind of a unrelated but also related thing. And just in general, I think like this company is, to me, just an absolute wild card, where it's like I can never predict the next GameStop article that I'm going to find. And it's just like a beautiful mess, honestly. Like it's so hard it's so hard to figure out like what they're trying to do at any given time. So, honestly, the NFTs themselves, like I don't have much to say about them. I have no interest myself in them personally. Just not something I'm super into. I was very briefly like into crypto, like when it first started, like in terms of, you know, doing research on it and stuff. Just not really my risk appetite. So like not much to say myself on that personally. But yeah, like this to me is more GameStop buffoonery. Which is par for the course. I think we all agree. So it's kind of sad though, because yeah, like you say, it's one of the last like places that you can go as just games, right? Like a lot of, you know, stores will sell games like in a tiny corner, like, you know, the rejected stepchild corner of the store. Like I'll go to a Target and they have like, you know, 10 video games, and I'm like, oh, this is sad. So it is kind of unfortunate, but I mean, it is what it is, I guess. With GameStop, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I want to make a correction from earlier where I said that the last time I went to GameStop was like 2018,
Mm.
19. I did buy I did buy a couple games late last year, but it was online, so they were having like a fire sale of like a lot of games like some games were like 5, $10, and I picked up like 10 of them. I got like Crisis Core for like $20. I got like Doom Eternal for like $5. But that was like online. Get physical stores like nah, there's nothing. I think the last game I bought was like NBA 2K18 or something. So that was like a that was like a long time ago.
I actually do still go to GameStop, not regularly, but like every once in a while I will, because they do have good deals every once in a while, especially with pre-owned copies and stuff. Like sometimes they'll do a buy two get one free, and like I just got all of the Xenoblade series.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which it was is a steal because especially on games like a Nintendo series, which never drop in price. Like any kind of deal you get on them is a big one. So you can still use GameStop strategically, and I still do think that they have a place in the market and they can find a place in the market, but they have no idea how to position themselves, and it's really unfortunate to see.
Yeah, I mean, there was one thing about GameStop. When you're buying like a new game from them, there's like a gamble of whether it comes like in the original case. So,
Mm-hmm.
the games I got all came in the original case, but there was like some sticky stuff on it. I think it was like a sticker or something. I had to like scrape it off, but yeah,
You have to
yeah, it
hope.
was new and it was like I think they're already open. So I mean, that's GameStop for you. All right, and then all right, so we're gonna go to the UK version of GameStop, which is called Game, I believe. They are
Mm-hmm.
ending the game trade-in and also pre-owned sales. Our main industry is in decline, so we need to plug that gap, but also for the future to bring in these new customers and get them off of online retailers. We see our place in the market as proving that there is a place for physical, whether that be the collector's edition, which we see as the vinyl of video games, which is interesting, or the gifter who doesn't want to wrap up a download code for Christmas. I want to say something about the this quote I just read. In the future, because for like CDs and like music and stuff, there's a lot of people that still use vinyl, and there's like a lot of companies that still sell vinyl soundtracks for their video games or for an artist. And also the last thing he said that gifter doesn't want to open up a download code for Christmas, and this is the one thing that I really want to champion for like physical games is that like for Christmas it's way better to have like a physical copy than rather than having like yeah I'd rather have
Yeah.
it that than like a code for like a gift card or something because I mean when you have the box there's artwork on it even though like there's no manual inside anymore but I mean you still
There's a
yeah
magic.
there's that magic. It's kind of hard to explain it for anybody who's only digital only, but like I feel like physical is just like you own that copy, you can sell it, you can give it to like somebody as to borrow for them. I mean, yeah, I mean, you said something about this Henry that is this different than GameStop?
So uh, I think what ultimately it comes down to is pre-owned sales are, like I said, physical and retail. They're eventually going to die out. Eventually, we are moving in that direction where everybody will eventually be like a digital only buyer because the way the market works is Sony and Xbox and Nintendo all have to give a cut to GameStop or Walmart or whoever is selling their games in stores. I think it's like a 30% cut, which is pretty big off the
That's a lot.
top. And uh, you know, when they do that through their digital storefront, they don't have to do that. They continue to take in all the profits, 100% of it. So they want to cut out these middlemen, and moving people into a digital era is what's going to happen. So you have your Xbox Game Passes that are going to completely remove that ability, and you have consoles are, I think it's rumored the next generation is not even going to have a disc drive at all. I think Xbox has already moved in that direction. I think we have a story later on
Mm-hmm.
about that. Is the next Xbox console won't even have a disc drive. So this is something they have to do. It's not an if, it's a when. And I think it is an interesting way to position themselves. Is, I get it. Being that high-end collector's edition or a gift giver, it makes sense, but I don't think it makes sense long term. I think that this is them making a wise business decision, but I don't know if it's a long term play. Um, that's my 2 cents on it. I don't know if you guys think that or what you think about it, and more so if there's even a way out for these guys. Like what can they do to make this work?
I think I honestly kind of disagree. I think it's kind of a mistake, and I'll explain why. So, to me, it's really interesting to pull out of the used game market, even if we are moving in a digital direction, which I do agree with you on that. Digital sales are going up like crazy on a slope, an upward slope over the last like 5-10 years. It's just a fact. But I do think it's kind of a mistake here because the thing is, the profit that you make off a used game is significantly higher because you don't have to obviously pay the cut from a new game sale. So I feel like almost a better way to handle this, and I trust me, I realize this is easier said than done, but I almost feel like it would be better to refine what used games you're trying to sell, because I'm assuming their reasoning here, which they don't state it in the article, but I'm just getting in the heads of their board. I'm assuming the reasoning here is it's taking up shelf space, right? Like you're dedicating shelf space to used games that are not selling. So you're just eating up space in the store that could be taken by more expensive, newer games, collector's editions, things like that. I think what you do is you clean out a lot of the used games that you're just not making anything on, which frankly you're going to kind of have to do anyways if you're getting rid of that kind of portion of your store. And in the article, they do state, they're going to continue to sell used games in stock until they run out, and then they're going to get, pretty much not take any more new ones. But I do feel like there is a niche for used games in physical locations. And the reason why is because who else does that? You know what I'm saying? And especially over in the UK, like who else is taking used games from people? And I think, and I know this sounds maybe a little bit crazy, but I have seen it firsthand, and I used to sell my used games on eBay super often. A lot of people do not want to buy used games online. A lot of people don't want to buy games online, period. A lot of, like, I would say older fashioned people. So, like, I've run into a lot of people who they'll go into GameStop and overpay for a used game when I've told them, hey, you can get this dirt cheap off eBay, whether on the internet or otherwise. And they just like being able to go in somewhere and buy a used game. Like, they like the discount built in. They don't want to buy it online. They want to see the games. They want to browse the store. I feel like what you do is you cut out a lot of the for lack of a better way of putting it, the trash. Because we all know, we've all been, gaming for years of our lives. We all know you can go into a GameStop and find like Madden 13, right? Like they have like these like 10-year-old sports games, right? Like get all the junk out, keep what's good, right? However you define that, and then focus on that. That's just my opinion. Obviously, we're talking from a place of not being the ones running these stores, so easy to armchair quarterback for myself, but that's just, to me, seems like a better path. Keeping your stranglehold on the used game physical market and just riding that out a bit longer, because yes, digital sales are up like crazy, but they haven't completely taken over yet. I think that's still a few years away at minimum. So I think you kind of just ride this out a little longer. I mean, clearly that's not what they're doing, but that is what I would personally think would make more sense.
Yeah, you said something about physical games like going away. I think for Xbox, definitely like their next console that you brought up, Henry, was their new Xbox Series, which is just all digital, which got leaked last year. We're just like having no physical drive for like your disc. But I think it's different for like Nintendo and Sony, because I think Nintendo, most of their sales are physical. I think I read something that's like it's over 60%.
Yeah, that was in another article we have. It's over 60%.
Yeah, and then which makes sense because their online store kind of sucks. But for PlayStation, like I think it's around 40%. But the Insomniac hacks, they showed that physical sales are still like a huge market for them. So for like PlayStation, I
Yeah.
don't see it going away soon. I think probably until like the PS7. I think PS6 will have a disk drive. I'm betting on that. Because
I think it'll have an like a hook-upable disk drive. I
Yeah,
think that's
kinda-
I
kind
can
of
see
what
that.
they're moving
Yeah, I
to.
can see that.
Kind of like the digital PS5 does now, where you can buy the
Yeah.
separate disc. I could see something like that being like the base model.
I guess
So
yeah, I can see that because I think moving forward, I think the PS6 will have like backwards compatibility with the PS4, and so like a lot of people have those games that they want to play. So I think there will be a disc drive for like for that. I don't know about PS7. I think that's like a 50-50 chance. So
yeah, we've got some time there too. This brings up an interesting question. I'm just curious on you guys. Like, what is your balance of physical to digital purchases? I would say, like, honestly, with the fact that you can kind of game share on the PS5, and I game share with my brother, like, I would say we tend to lean like very heavily toward digital. Like, I probably have maybe 10% of my purchases be physical in the past couple of years. Like, if I had to guess.
I'm just looking at my cases. I think a lot of my PS5 games are like physical, but for like digital, I think the PS4 games on there are like cheap. I think I got like Yakuza 0 for like $5-6, but like to get a physical copy of that is like $20, which is like
It's crazy.
yeah. So like some games like their physical copies are rare for some reason and more expensive, but then like on the PlayStation Store, there's a lot of good sales on there. I mean, some people talk about like digital
Yeah.
that it never goes discount, but I'd be seeing like a lot of sales on there, which makes it tempting.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I can say that it depends on what you're going for. So out of the games I play, most of them are digital, but that's because a lot of subscription services like PlayStation Plus now and Game Pass have just games that they're there, so I don't have to pay for. So if you include that, I'm definitely a primarily digital consumer. If you don't, I'd say probably I'm still 60-40. Because at the end of the day, 60-40 in terms of I have mostly digital and then 40%
Gotcha.
physical. I'm definitely a physical like proponent. I definitely want there to be a physical version of games.
Same.
I think it
Yeah.
gives you way more control over it. No publisher is going to be pulling your physical copy from your house and saying you can't play it anymore, like they do on stores now. You can resell it. You have way more control over what you do with it and how you use it, sharing it, all that other stuff. You can't do that with digital copies. Digital copies, you're basically buying the permission to play it until the publisher says you can't anymore. The thing about digital, though, is obviously convenience is a huge factor. You don't have to get up and put a disc in your console. That's a huge thing that people like to champion about digital. But I think, for me, the big thing about digital is sales. I'm very monetarily conscious. So if I can save a lot more money buying a digital copy than a physical copy, I'm going to go that route. So something like Alexis was talking about, if there's a really deep sale on a digital game, then I'm going to certainly pick it up digitally rather than pay whatever 60, 50, however much for a physical copy. Steam has dirt cheap sales all the time.
Yes.
You can buy so much stuff for such little money. It's almost like you'll just buy stuff just because it's cheap. Like you won't even want to play it. It's so discounted. But that's primarily how I lean in that way.
Yeah, I think it's a great point monetarily, because like I am the same way when it comes to sales, and I've found that I'd say almost all scenarios, digital is almost always cheaper. Like most of the games that I've bought recently, there's a significant price difference. You know what the one thing I don't buy digital is Nintendo games.
Nope.
Because they hold their values so well that I'm like,
Absolutely.
dude, I'm gonna buy this. I'm gonna buy this Switch game, beat it, and then sell it for like almost what I paid. So it's almost like a rental in a weird way. So I definitely do not buy digital Nintendo pretty much ever. So that's kind of the only thing. But yeah, I think it's an interesting route that the industry is shifting towards, and has been for some time. Like I don't know if y'all remember, but back in the day, it was so funny because people were so against digital.
Oh yeah,
Like
I
people
remember that.
threw like a fit about it, and it's so funny now because it's so huge, and in some cases even the
Yeah.
majority.
Yeah. Welcome to gamers, bro. That's just what we do.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
And another point I forgot to mention is a lot of games now are only digital. So obviously you can't buy a physical copy
indie
of something
games.
like
Yeah.
indie games is huge, and now we have more mainstream titles kind of moving in that direction, like Alan Wake
Oh
2.
yeah.
It was a
Oh
huge game last
yeah,
year.
yeah. I
It
forgot
was
about that.
only digital. Yeah, I mean, like Hellblade 2 is only going to be digital. That's one. Of course, that's an
Yep.
Xbox game, but there's an increasing number of publishers that are just like, well, let's just go straight digital because we don't have to split any revenue with stores, and it's just what a lot of people are doing now. So that's probably where most of our sales were going to come from anyway. Let's just do that. So that's another element on top of it. It's us physical gamers are slowly going extinct. I totally agree with you guys. We have another decade and a half tops. But after that, we're dying off. Like they're going to smother us out. That's all we can do.
Yep. I wanted to save your thoughts on this one. So, we talked a lot about like physical games and stuff. So for like our next topic is talking about Ubisoft. So Ubisoft wants players to get comfortable not owning their games via their subscriptions. And when I read this article, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, why is this guy saying this? But then I think he was misquoted, kind of. A lot of people were going at him, but there was some things in there where it's like, oh, okay, so like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you saying this? But so the first quote he says is, one of the things we saw is that gamers are used to a little bit like DVD, having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They got comfortable not owning their CD collection or DVD collection. That's a transformation that's been a bit slower to happen in games. I still have 2 boxes of DVDs. I definitely understand the gamer's perspective with that. But as people embrace that model, they will see that these games will exist. The service will continue and you'll be able to access them when you feel like. That's reassuring. And for this, I mean, I agreed with the first part where he said that we like owning our stuff like DVDs, but then he says that subscription service are like they're reassuring because they're always there. But you never know with like these companies and like publishers, like they'll publish a game like only digital, and like they probably alter it, or they'll probably like take it off like the storefront. I know some games that
True.
what was it? Some games that they have like changed content because of like copyright and stuff. I think GTA Vice City, the radio in there like was changed around for like the remasters they did. So then it's like
Yeah.
you're not getting the original game, and then like this guy's talking about subscription services. I'm not really a fan of like PlayStation Plus or like Game Pass or Ubisoft Plus, which is their subscription for their games. It's like I prefer like playing my games at my old time, and like for like these services, they're always like bringing in new games, which is cool, which is good because Xbox, they just got like Palworld, which we'll talk about later, which is like a huge hit for them. But then also they just take off games that you've been playing. They took off like the Persona games after like a year of them being on there, which sucks because those games are really long. So like
Oh, yeah.
somebody, when they give the warning that they're gonna take away the games from the service, they only give like a 2-week warning. So like you're not gonna have the time to finish the games, like, which is one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of subscription services. I'd rather have like buy my games digital or get a physical copy.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that because I actually am a fan of these services, and I'll tell you why. Because I think it's actually more consumer friendly than a lot of people realize. So in this article, and as you've kind of stated, I think he was misquoted quite a bit in here. I think that this is one of those where it's going to get posted on a forum and people are going to look at the headline and not read the article, and there's going to be a lot of pissed off
Very.
people. I can already tell that's exactly what kind of article this is. But what I will say is, and he even calls it out in here, is they're mentioning the fact that they're releasing some of these games day one, and in some cases even if you're on this Ubisoft Plus premium that you're getting them early access. Also, here's the thing. I mean, none of these services that I'm aware of, and I've actually, dabbled in multiple of these in the video game space. None of them that I'm aware of have a significantly long minimum commitment time. And what I mean by that is a lot of them you can subscribe for a month and then leave. And I hear you on your point of, sometimes it's a long game and it sucks when you're in the middle of a game and it takes it off the service. I fully agree with you there. But the thing is, there's also the flip side of that, which is a new game comes out. I subscribe to the service for a month for $5 on sale or $10, however the cost may be. And I beat a $60 game in a few weeks, and I just paid $10 for a $60 game. And yes,
it's incredibly good value.
I don't still own it, which I totally acknowledge that too. But I don't have to own it depending on the game. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't even really care to own it. I have a really good anecdote of this that happened very recently. So EA Play is very cheap on PlayStation. It's $5 a month. Yeah. They don't have a ton of games on there, but they do have a lot of the the older sports games, and then they do have the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is on there as well. And I was actually talking to a friend recently who subscribed to EA Play, beat the Star Wars game, and then canceled their subscription. So he paid $5 essentially to rent Star Wars. You know what I'm saying? So it's in that case, I mean, I think that these subscriptions can actually be way more consumer friendly than people realize. But yeah, I mean, I think that's just kind of the positive spin on some of what he's saying.
Yeah, I mean, what he said is that he was talking about getting comfortable not owning their games. I mean, something about that is just is the consumer shift that needs to happen. I mean, I think a lot of people, I think Game Pass it really convinced people that they can get these new first party games that day and day on Game Pass, day one on there. But PlayStation Plus, it doesn't really do that. I think it's because it's expensive, I think, for these services to continue and operate. I mean, I don't think you'll never see The Last of Us Part 3 PS Plus Extra. I don't see that. Only for Xbox because it's a different market. What about you, Henry? You said you wanted to bring something about this is clickbait.
There's a lot to unpack from what you guys just said, but to go back to the initial article, yeah, this article was pretty disingenuous with its headlining for sure. Not getting comfortable not owning games, quote unquote, is something he said, but without context surrounding it, that was clearly the most inflammatory thing he said. Obviously, people want to own the things that they buy. He's obviously referring to games within a subscription, not just games that you outright purchase. So this was definitely something I was a little disappointed in. GameIndustry.biz. They do a lot of good reporting. They do a lot of good articles that I like reading, but this was one that I actually saw it before it blew up, because I was just grabbing articles for the doc, for the podcast, and a couple hours later, it was all over my Twitter feed. People were just freaking out about it, and I was like, "You guys didn't even read the article," because even I was like, "This seems like a weird thing for an executive to say." It kind of seems weird that they would just come out in a public interview and just say, "We don't want people to own stuff anymore." That's a interesting way to address your consumers. So obviously, I think the comparison that he makes or is making is Netflix. He wants these things to be kind of like Netflix. You don't own... Everybody has a Netflix subscription. You don't own anything on Netflix, and that's what he wants to see for games. And he goes into the article, and in the interview, he says, gamers are still kind of attached to physical sales. We still like collecting, we still like having, and that's where he makes the comparison to DVDs and says, look, I have a DVD collection, but let's be real, most people in the movie space have moved on to these subscription services, and they don't care that, I don't know, The Godfather Part 2 is on one service. It's frustrating, but if it maybe moves or gets taken down and moves to another one, but most people are just kind of acceptant of it now. And that's what he's saying he wants to see here. in terms of like Game Pass and subscription services as a whole throughout the industry, I actually kind of fall somewhere in the middle of you guys. I kind of agree with both of what you're saying, um, especially for something like Game Pass. This is a massive deal for any gamer. It's honestly like, why wouldn't you have Game Pass, especially if you're intending on playing like any Xbox first party games? It's kind of too good of a deal to pass up. You pretty much get all your money back in like the span of one or 2 months if you just buy a whole year, which is a massive gain for you financially. You also get all the other games that they add too, not just Microsoft's first party games. I find a lot of usage out of Game Pass, and you can use it in a lot of different places. I stream it to my Steam Deck. At the end of the day, though, I still don't like. I'm totally with you, Alexis. Do not like that they give you 2 weeks heads up and say this is leaving the
terrible.
service.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's no fun, especially when it's a Persona game, like which is 120 hours. Like that's obviously kind of messed up. But at the same time, on the flip side, next week, every Game Pass subscriber gets Persona 3 Remake for free day one.
That's huge.
So like it's massive, and so there's a lot of good and bad with these services. I think it does encourage kind of a race to the bottom. In a way, people are just putting games on these services. It's a Netflixification. I don't think that these companies can survive with it. It took Netflix like 10 years. They were in the red for like 10 years making Netflix content. And the whole business model behind Netflix is we produce, and we gain subscribers, and then over time increase the subscription price. And once the subscription price goes high enough and you have all these people, the unfortunate part of most subscriptions, I know Cameron, you kind of touched on this, but and you said, well, I know some people who go in, get a game, play it, beat it, and cancel their subscription. The vast majority of people, statistics show, once you sign up for a subscription, you are highly unlikely to ever cancel it. Whether it's just difficult, or that you don't know how, or you just don't think about it anymore. Whatever the case is, most people don't. So like really the investment these companies are making is just that initial subscription to get you over that hump, and then over time your subscription goes to $7.99 like it used to be for Netflix up to $20. And now like Netflix is making, over 100% more profit than they used to. And that's kind of what Game Pass is eventually going to go to, and all these other subscription services is, like right now Game Pass is incredibly affordable. Well, in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that subscription price is easily going to double. And, they're going to just kind of slowly cook you to be comfortable with it. So I think that, right now, it's probably get in while the getting's good if you're a gamer. Like, get in on these services, take advantage of what they have to offer. I don't think we'll be able to forever in the way that we are now. But I think that, if Microsoft succeeds with what they're doing, this could be like the future for like DVDs kind of are now obsolete, and, subscription services are the future. That could possibly be the future for games. We'll see what comes out of it though.
You know what this is? It's the gym plan where you sign up to go to the gym and then you forget, and it just keeps hitting you every month. Like that's it's the exact same thing, I swear. But yeah, no, I hear you on that. I think that I also fully agree with you that these will not be this affordable for this long. I'm pretty confident in that. Once they get that user base up, these prices are going to go up quite a bit,
for sure.
I expect.
One thing you brought up is about Netflix. I think the difference between like these subscription services and like Netflix is that like for like movies and TV shows and stuff like that, you can get them done like pretty quickly. But for like games, like they're way longer. Like there's a lot of games that they go up to like 20, 30 hours, which is normal.
It's a good point.
And like movies, you can just like consume it easily. And also I wanted to ask you guys one more thing. This popped up in my head. Is like they're talking about subscription services and stuff, and this just happened like in the last few years. Is like, do you guys buy games to like support developers? I mean, because like for me, like for like new games coming out. It kind of sucks when you see like a really highly rated game that just doesn't meet sales expectations, and like it's a really good game. And there was like one game I forgot. It was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I think I just bought it because I really want to support it. I'm
Oh,
buying it day
nice.
one,
Yeah.
and like I'm not buying like a used copy because I want to support the devs, or that there's like something brand new that captures my eye. Like even Dragon's Dogma 2, like I don't think it's gonna sell a lot. It might be like a huge hit, but I don't think it's gonna sell a lot. I was thinking about just buying it, just to, like support it, because I think I really like what I see from the gameplay and stuff. But yeah, do you guys buy games to like support developers and stuff?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Honestly, it's a really interesting subject. I have done this multiple times, and the first example that comes to mind because it's hilarious how many different ways I own it is Stardew Valley, which I own on like 5 different devices now
Yeah.
because partially just because like there was a use case for different devices, right? Like I originally had it on PS4, and then I was like, well, I kind of want to play this handheld. So I bought it on my Switch, and then, so on and so forth, right? The dominoes fell. But part of that also is because, like, that dev, I mean, he did most of it on his own, pretty much all of it on his own, and, like, up front at least. And I thought that was a really cool story. So I was like, yeah, I don't mind buying this again. I typically would not do something like that if it was like I don't know. I'm just going to throw a random example out here, but if it was like Diablo 4, right? I'm not going to buy it on like my PlayStation and my PC because I just kind of don't need to. But for something like that, I would say for me, to answer your question, for me, it's typically going to be like indie games
Hmm.
more so than bigger games. But yeah, I've definitely done that before. I also, it's definitely worth mentioning, just floating this out there too, is like, I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where like I can do that, and I do sympathize with some people that are like in a little bit of a spot where they can't necessarily like buy a game 3 different times. Like totally understand that too. So
Totally great point there. I do the almost the exact same. I know when I was younger, I obviously could not. I think we touched on the last podcast. This is not a poor man's hobby. Like
yep.
it requires some monetary investment, and I definitely didn't have that monetary investment when I was younger. So I had to get games the cheapest and easiest way that I could. A lot of times that was waiting a couple of years normally after a game came out, or buying used or something like that. Now that I'm a lot more fortunate, I have the expendable capital. I definitely do buy games to support developers, or more so to support franchises that I really like. A good example of that is like Valkyria Chronicles. It's one of my favorite games ever,
Beautiful. Love to hear that.
and I thank you. It's very rare to hear somebody say that, but because no one played it, and so so when I have it on Steam, I have it on Switch, I have it on PS4, I have it on PS5, I have 2 physical copies. I did the same for Valkyria Chronicles 4 because I just want that series to survive. I want Sega to know that there are people out there who like it, and honestly, I like having access to it wherever I go. So it's not necessarily like a huge sacrifice to me either. I get something out of it too. I also did that for, funny enough, like Psychonauts 2. Psychonauts 1 was one of my favorite games growing up, and I played Psychonauts 2 through Game Pass for free, or not for free, but for a subscription price for a very low cost. And I loved the game so much, and I don't know if you guys know of Psych Odyssey, but it's like a 30-part YouTube documentary by the developers of Psychonauts 2, Tim Schafer and Double Fine, and it literally goes in depth on the entire development process, the good and the bad, for Psychonauts 2. Highly recommend it if you haven't seen it before. It's really amazing. But I was so inspired by it, and I love the game so much that I went and I bought another copy of Psychonauts 2. Even though I had access to it through Game Pass, I just love the game so much. I love the series so much, and I was so touched by the story behind the developers and the humanization behind it through that documentary that I bought some copies for it. So I definitely do that, and I think that if you can, you probably should. But that's again, depending on your financial situation. But that's what I do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one thing that Cameron brought as well about supporting indie studios. I think that was like a huge thing. As the years went on, is like support indie studios. But then like we're now at that point. You know, you're seeing layoffs and stuff of like these big publishers and stuff because their game doesn't sell well. You know, AAA games like I think it's fine to support if you can't, it's fine. I mean, if you have the money, go for it. But yeah, I mean that's a whole subject right there. So you know that leads us into like the layoffs. So there's two articles that they're talking about layoffs today. One of them is from Gearbox Studio, Lost Boys, who was hit with layoffs. This is from the Embracer Group. So if you don't know, Embracer Group, they bought like a lot of studios, a lot of developers for like from like the past couple of years, and now they are downsizing. They're hitting their company or their developers with layoffs, and it's just another round for like Embracer Group. I mean, it's not looking good for them. I mean, this is a support studio behind Borderlands 3 and Tiny Tina's Wonderland, which is like a loot box shooter. Fun games, but you know, Embracer is like a mess. I mean, I don't know what's going on with them. Right now, they're just trying to find a way to like not lose money, so they're losing all these studios, and who knows, maybe another company can like swoop in and get these developers and to like new positions. I mean, it just sucks. A lot of layoffs. I predict this like last 2 weeks that the layoffs are not going to stop. They're going to continue through the year, and you see
Yeah.
this right here
Yeah.
with the Embracer Group, which not surprising, but it's just a long line of Embracer Group layoffs. So
Yeah, I think something that's so there's two facets to this that I think are really important to mention. So the first one is that it happened mid last year that the deal that Embracer Group was trying to set up with an investment partner, it was a $2 billion deal, fell through. And I
Exactly, yeah.
guarantee you, I come from a business background myself, so very familiar with stuff like this. They were gearing up to make themselves a more appealing investment before that, buying these studios up. And when that partner, when that deal fell through, that's a big hit. I mean, like a $2 billion influx of capital that you're getting into your company is it goes without saying, it's a very huge thing to lose, right? So I think it's a combination of that. And then also on top of that, as kind of you alluded to, they've been trying, like there's rumblings out there in the grapevine that they've been trying to sell Gearbox
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
last
They
year.
are actively, yeah. It's
Yeah,
not
so
rumblings, it's active.
well, there you go. Even better. I mean, yeah, like I think this is, like you say, it's another example where they overspent in anticipation of something that did not end up happening, and they're feeling the hit from it. I mean, that's just all this is, right? So
Yeah, this is obviously Embracer Group has over the past few years been snatching up all sorts of studios and IP, big and small. This is a publishing group that obviously grew way too fast and hasn't. They've been putting out things, but it's been smaller things, mid-sized games that clearly aren't going to cover their overhead. And like the new Saints Row game, which was a massive. That was like their biggest release yet, and it was a massive commercial and critical failure. They've recently had to lay off. The entire. They completely closed Volition, the people behind Saints Row. They've had to lay off a good portion of Crystal Dynamics, which was obviously the people behind the Tomb Raider series, and now they're laying off a huge portion of their Gearbox studios or Gearbox personnel. And that's obvious. I think that's their crown jewel right now is the people behind Borderlands. This is obviously, I think very good point by Cameron. They were definitely looking for an outside investor to come in and save them. And selling for $2 billion would have been a huge deal. And clearly that investor said, no thanks. This is too much. It's obviously not right for us. It's not a good situation you're in right now, and we don't even want that. What I'm really scared for is not only everybody's jobs who works at Embracer Group, because I mean there's a lot of people, but they own a lot of big IP.
Oh
Like a
yeah.
lot. Like
Oh yeah.
like weirdly way more than they are the sole owners of the Lord of the Rings IP. Like they're the only people who can make Lord of the Rings games, which is crazy to me. Which of course, they didn't publish Gollum, but they did own the rights to it. So like they're clearly messing up there. This is just it's a mess. Embracer Group is just an absolute mess. I think that you're going to see even more layoffs from Embracer Group going forward. This is, I think, probably at some point they're going to have to get rid of, just offload stuff, sell it, sell teams, sell IP.
Yep.
Obviously, like we were just saying, Embracer Group or not Embracer Group, Gearbox is up for sale. So, and that's going to be their big. It's going to be a big payout for them. I guarantee it. So I think Embracer Group is just kind of a mess, and I don't know, Alexis, what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, so for Gearbox, I mean, this is like a huge company. I mean, they made Borderlands, which like huge games on the PS3 360 days. I wonder if like someone of a company is gonna buy them, probably Sony or Microsoft maybe, or maybe it's like a smaller publisher. I think there's like a lot of potential with like Borderlands. I think it's like one of the IP that I think is just like very like is not utilized enough because I think I played Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel and they're really fun. It's just that like right now like Gearbox, I mean there's a lot of potential there. I mean we'll see what happens with the Embracer Group. They're just like it's a bit of a mess like you said, so we'll see. And then this just leads us off into the next topic, which is a huge news story which just happened this past couple days. Microsoft, they just laid off over 1,900 employees across Bethesda, Activision Blizzard, and as well as in Xbox. Yeah, this is one of the huge stories that just happened. I guess it's like one of the reasons of the consolidation between Activision and Xbox. So you have there's so many people working at those studios that were on Twitter being sad about losing their jobs or they're losing like a huge portion of their team. I mean, one of them was the Blizzard president as well as their chief design officer. Another one was the survival game, which was in development for like 6 years, was just canceled. And I didn't really have high hopes for this because they said that there are like a couple years off from it, so like we wouldn't have seen it till like 2028 maybe. So it might have been another Redfall situation right there. So maybe we saved it, they saved it, but it sucks that it got canceled because we couldn't see anything about it. And there was also another thing of these layoffs that the physical department at Microsoft was just laid off. Like the whole department was just ceased. So I mean, there's a lot here to discuss. I don't know if you guys want to talk about the layoffs first, Cameron. Like there's just over 2,000 employees, I believe. So there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's very unfortunate. Obviously, anytime this happens, just in general, first of all. But I think what's maybe illuminating is so there's the human aspect of it, right? Which is obviously people. 1,900 is a lot of people, and it's a lot of people to lose their jobs, and that sucks, and it's so unfortunate. And there's the business side of things, which this isn't to say like, oh, boohoo Blizzard. It's more just me explaining, kind of what's going on here, which is, this didn't really surprise me that this was one of the like round of layoffs, I should say, because the thing is when you consolidate, like you were saying, when you buy a company, cutting some of the employees is very, very, very common. So like it
Totally.
makes sense to me that they were doing this. 1,900 is a lot though. I mean, like that number to me is very surprising. The fact that it's happening maybe isn't as much, but yeah, no, I mean it sucks. And like the game you alluded to, in development for 6 years by Blizzard, it's a long line of things from Blizzard, questionable decision making. Like the fact that the president resigned to me is very fitting here and does make sense because frankly, like you can go back 5 years, 10 years, maybe even longer, and follow Blizzard's decision making, and it's just like not the best. It's to say the least. Like it's a constant struggle for them to, to get games out in a timely manner, to get games out that work when they release, to focus on the right games. This is definitely not even close to the first big game that they've canceled in the last 10-15. So like, to me, this is just, hopefully, like, the optimist side of me is saying after, Microsoft has taken over them, hopefully Blizzard itself starts making better decisions with the help of Microsoft. But man, this is not, it's both surprising to me in terms of like how far of a reach it has, and also not at the same time in terms of, the fact that this is happening, I would say.
From my perspective, I agree with a lot of what Cameron just said. Like, it is normally something that happens when these mergers happen, is, they cull a lot of the people. This happened with ZeniMax, or what most people refer to as Bethesda. ZeniMax is their parent company. They laid off a lot of people when they bought them, and this is just a lot of people. This 1,900 is a whole heck of a lot. I think another huge portion of that is they lost some big names. Obviously, Blizzard president and chief design officer. I mean, like, Microsoft needs people who have a good idea of what they're doing. Losing two of your heads is not great. You want people that know what's going on and are able to produce for you. That's obviously why they bought them. I agree with Cameron, though, that like Blizzard has been kind of fluctuating in quality for a while now, so it makes sense. I don't know, they may be unhappy with what Microsoft, the fact they're owned by Microsoft now. It may just be a good time for them to retire. Who knows? But they're not there anymore. And then their survival game. I'm not a big survival game guy, but from what I've heard, that game was supposed to be pretty good. It was apparently like an engine issue. So they like initially started producing the game on a specific engine, and then they tried to switch it to a completely new one, and it just basically bonked it all up. It made it too complicated and too much work to continue working on it, and they just decided to scrap it. Whether this was Microsoft stepping in and making that call, I don't know. Like Cameron said, hopefully they make better decisions now with Microsoft at the helm, but the thing is, I simply don't think that's going to happen. You look at something like Redfall coming out last year and, like developers actively being like, we want this thing dead, and Microsoft being like, yeah, we'll just pump it out anyway, when obviously, it wasn't in the best condition. I don't know, maybe that changed Microsoft's idea of how to move forward with that kind of stuff. And they said, look, we had this problem with Redfall. This survival game probably looks the same in that way. We're gonna kill it. But again, I've heard it looked good from hands-on accounts, so I don't know if that's the case. I think it was just an internal decision, probably by Blizzard. But that's and then the layoffs for the physical game department. I guess the correction there is they didn't lay off everybody in the physical game department. They just closed the department. So most likely they moved the people in that department around. They probably laid some of them off too. But I don't think they fired everyone. So what that essentially means is they're going to probably, for the foreseeable future, not export, but go external for that department. Mm-hmm. They're probably going to have a third party that handles their physical releases for games. And then once Xbox is done with physical games, they're going to just cut off ties with that third party and just not have physical games anymore. And like we were talking about earlier, Nintendo is around 60%, Xbox is only 10%. So they are already moving in a very digital direction, and they are probably just making that move, to go even further faster with this move. So it's just, it's a sad day, but, it's understandable. It's from a business perspective, still sad, but everything here is understandable from a business perspective.
Yeah, the one more thing that I don't think it was brought up was, I think some Call of Duty developers were also laid off from like Treyarch, Sledgehammer Games, and Infinity Ward. So that's like a huge loss for them. I mean, It's just like across the Xbox board. I mean, I don't know if this is gonna happen to other companies. I think Nintendo. I think Nintendo is like the only one that hasn't had layoffs. I think. I'm not sure.
They
Maybe,
keep
yeah.
a lot of their people. They very rarely do they fire anybody, and very rarely do people quit from Nintendo. So
Absolutely,
no,
yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay, because I think I read something that their retention rate was like above 90%. So
I read that
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. It's super super high.
it makes sense because their games are like, I don't think they're expensive to make. Probably the most expensive game they had to make was probably Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. So I mean, you're not gonna see layoffs for like Nintendo, I believe. So I mean, just sucks.
They've always been a company that keeps a ton of cash on hand too, so they really
True.
don't need to like lay people off in terms of salaries and things like that because they always just readily have enough money to just pay all their employees. So I think it's a strategical thing, and obviously it's suited them well over the years.
All right, so for our next topic, we got Xbox Developer Direct, which is Microsoft's own show, sort of like the Nintendo Direct or the State of Play for PlayStation. So there was a couple titles that they showed off. A lot of great content they showed for their upcoming games. A lot of them coming late 2024, which is fine. We can get started with each game, and we can get your thoughts on everybody's thoughts on it. The first one is Avowed, which is a game from Obsidian, who are known for their Fallout New Vegas games, as well as Outer Worlds, games like that. They're very like conversation heavy, fantasy action. For Avowed, this is launching in fall of 2024. Of course, Game Pass day one. And from what I've seen of it, I think it looks okay. I mean, I wasn't really wowed by it. I think I need to see more of it. I want to see more of like what the story is about, how in depth the combat is. They didn't really show much. There was also like a video they uploaded later that day about the combat, which showed like more in depth of the world and stuff. For this one, I think I'll wait and see, but I think Avowed is looking okay. It doesn't like surprise me.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I feel like it's giving me like Oblivion vibes, or I
Yeah,
mean, I
I can
guess
see that.
Skyrim if you prefer. But yeah, that's kind of the impression I'm getting, which to me is like, meh, it's okay. I mean, to me, like this style of game is something I used to play a lot more than I do now. But even still, I mean, if there's if something good comes along, I'll hop in. So
Yeah, I agree with both you guys. This game looked very meh. It looked very okay. It is Obsidian is kind of praised as like one of the big, like, almost like rivals to Bethesda, which is weird now that they're owned by the same company. But like New Vegas is known as like probably one of the better Bethesda games, and it's not even a Bethesda game. It was obviously made by Obsidian. So the thing about it is though is their most recent game was Outer Worlds, and I played Outer Worlds, and I can't remember a moment of that game. It was so boring and bland and forgettable. I don't have much faith in Avowed, to be quite honest. It was very funny because during the direct, I'm assuming both you guys watched it. They were like the side quest. They were like, we're very big into gray area decisions, and then they like showed this. You're like talking to this dude, and he's like, take these badges and take them back to this guy, and you take them back, and he's like, I can either kill you or I cannot. And it's just like, okay, I feel like this is not very interesting. Like, this is not a very compelling side mission, especially after, like, I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3 right now, which we'll get to and like in the impressions, but those side quests are so much more interesting than this. This is like such a yawn. It's really weird that they, one, didn't show that much for this game, and two, what they showed just seemed okay. I'm very not impressed with this right now, and in all honesty, at this point, unless I hear something crazy about it, that it's like really, really good, it's probably like honestly like a pass for me right now.
Yeah, it's a pass for me as well. I like the cover art though. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah, it
it's sick.
actually does look cool.
It's sick. So
yeah, I like it too.
launching fall 2024, day one on Game Pass. And the next game they showed was Hellblade 2, which is a Senua Saga. From what we've seen of it, the reason I feel like they haven't really shown much gameplay is because it got confirmed that the game's around like 6 to 8 hours, sort of like the first game.
Yeah.
So
I saw that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that. It's digital only as well. So this is launching on May 21st, day one on Game Pass. I think for this one, it's kind of hard to like gauge on what it is because the gameplay, they haven't really shown like how it's gonna play like. Um, I mean, I think it's more like a story-based game, I believe. So
It
yeah,
is. Yeah.
they were showing like a lot of mocap during this, and I think I'll keep my eye on it since it's also like on PC. So
Yeah, I plan on keeping my eye on this one too. Ninja Theory is honestly a pretty talented developer. They have ebbs and flows, but most of the time their qualities and especially like their stories and writing is typically pretty top notch. I played the first one, and I actually like didn't like it. I found it incredibly frustrating and annoying. And then at the very end of the game, they show you can watch like a documentary, and it's like, oh well, this game was supposed to be like a representation of what it's like to have psychosis or schizophrenia. And
Exactly.
so like, there's always like voices talking to you, and you're always like the game is playing tricks on you and your mind and what you're seeing, and it's fairly repetitive in going through spaces, which is all apparently symptoms of schizophrenia or psychosis. And it made me really appreciate the game more after seeing that documentary and seeing why they made the decisions they did. And I still think that the game wasn't particularly like super fun, but I think that what they were trying to go for really made that game special. And Hellblade 2, I think a lot of people kind of saw it as when it was initially shown, like you're like fighting like a giant, and like it seemed very cinematic and Nordic, and people were like, oh well, this is the answer. This is Microsoft's answer to God of War, the new modern God of War. And I think now that they've confirmed this is a like 6 to 8 hour game, it is definitively not their answer to God of War.
No.
It is another Hellblade game, and I'm sure it will be good, and I'm sure that it will be a fun time. But I have Game Pass. I'm going to be able to play it day one. I'm sure I'll play it, and I'll see then. But right now, I still feel like I don't know enough about it to know if it will be great. But I'm sure it'll be good.
Cameron, is this catch your eye?
Yeah, I mean it's tough for me because Xbox is the only console I do not have, so it is unfortunate that I don't think I'll be able to play this. However, I do have a PC, so I guess that is an avenue.
Yeah.
That kind of aside, though, I think it looks it's complicated. I think it looks good visually, but so did the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I think it looks very similar to the first one, which it can make sense. But the thing is, like, I kind of my feelings on the first one are kind of a little bit complicated because, like, sounds similar to you, Henry, in the sense that the gameplay of the first game, I felt like I was running in molasses when I was running. I felt like I was swinging in molasses when I was fighting in combat. It's not a fun game to play, like, by the very definition of playing the game itself. But I am and have always been a story like based gamer, I would say. And so the story of the first game was intriguing me enough that I put up with the gameplay, which is something I can do pretty frequently. Like, I'll gladly say, hey, this game like kind of sucks to play, but if it's got a good story, it's hooking me in. Like, I'm here for it. So that to me is kind of, I guess, the biggest thing for Hellblade 2 is, can it rope in the people that played the first one and didn't like the way that it played? I think that's going to be an interesting question, because I bet there's people like me who played the first one, did not have fun with the gameplay, and are not willing to come back to it because maybe they were either ambivalent on the story, or they're just like, well, I could play something that I have more fun playing. Maybe it's not as big of a priority. But I think that's going to be one of the more interesting discussions to be had with this game. And then, of course, you always have to consider the fact that, you make a game as a sequel, Are you going to bring new people in? That's always a consideration to be made, right? Like there are the rare people. Actually, rare is not even the right word for it. It happens way more often than I would probably ever think, that come in the middle of a series, and even one like this that's heavily story based, and they don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, how many people are going to do that for this game is going to be interesting to see. So, I mean, I'm rooting for Ninja Theory. I like Ninja Theory, so obviously I hope it does well, but I just, it's tough. It's a complicated game in terms of my relationship with it. Like, I think I'm here for the second one if the opportunity presents itself, but it's definitely a wait for a pretty big sell for me before I pick it up. That's just my opinion. So
Got you. It's also $50, so it's not a full price game. So
Oh, dang.
it's also a Game
I
Pass.
thought it was cheaper than that.
Yeah, it's not that long. I guess that's why. May 21st.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, May 21st for Hellblade 2. All right, next game is when they showed was, so when I was watching this live, I saw there was like something, they did like a little funny edit in there. It showed like new visitor or whatever, and it says Square Enix. I'm like, oh shit, is this Final Fantasy 7 remake or Final Fantasy 16, which just had been rumored? It wasn't. So it was Visions of Mana. So this got revealed at the Game Awards. And this is coming day one to Xbox. No Game Pass, so surprisingly. So this is the new mainline entry in over 15 years, and it's gonna be its debut on the Xbox platformer. During the showcase, they show like behind the scenes of all the developers. It's going to have 100 songs in total, which is cool. They also show like a lot of monster designs, which were like, I really liked what I saw from it, from all like the monsters, as well as there's like a new companion you can ride around. Their name is Pico or Pickle. So it's like a little like
Probably Pickle.
Pico or something.
I don't think the Japanese would name any creature Pickle.
Yeah, so it's like a horse or whatever. It's like a big black dog. You can just ride around. I think for this one, it's weird because I like how it looks, but I feel like I want to see like the combat more in depth, because when I saw it, like the enemies weren't fighting back for some reason. It might have been just for presentation, but I mean, we'll see with Visions of Mana, which is coming this summer. No release date yet, but coming this summer for sure.
yeah, this one intrigued me quite a bit. I'm going to be honest, because I actually have not played very much of this series at all. Just dabbled here and there. But I actually caught my eye this game. The art style in particular I thought is kind of unique. It almost reminds me of like Dragon Quest, but more realistic looking, if that makes sense. It's almost like
I got that vibe too.
a blend of like Dragon Quest cartoon and like more real looking faces. So I thought that was kind of interesting. They have some cool visuals during the trailer. I mean, it looks pretty intriguing to me, and like this is a series that obviously is well beloved. Obviously hasn't had a game in a while. 15 years is over 15 years really is kind of a long time to wait for fans, but yeah, I might check this one out. This one looks pretty cool to me.
Mm-hmm. And Henry, what do you think about this? Have you had any experience in Mana?
I do not have any experience in any of the Mana series. It's always honestly been like one of their B tier series, which is why this game kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in many ways in this direct. First off, like this is a direct kind of trying to humanize and like show off like Microsoft's team, and like this isn't Microsoft's team at all. It's Square Enix's team. So like that's already kind of weird. And then like on top of that, this is obviously being Microsoft like saying, "Hey, we have a relationship with Square Enix too." Like because obviously Sony is getting all the Final Fantasy games, Final Fantasy 7 remake games, exclusively to their console. I think 16 was also exclusive to their console. So Microsoft clearly doesn't have a very good relationship with Square Enix, and Sony definitely does. And so this is definitely like Visions of Mana got invited to the party because Square Enix got invited to Sony's, or Final Fantasy got invited to Sony's. So I think that's definitely why it's here. To me, To be quite honest, no. I mean, like, I'd have to hear this game's story or something. Story and characters have to be really, really good. This to me looks like kind of just another Visions of Mana game, or another Mana game, or to me it kind of looks like another like Tales game. Looks very similar to like a Tales of game, and I've played several Tales of games, and I think they're good. But again, like I think what really carries a JRPG is its story and characters. If your story and characters suck, then it's not worth playing in the first place for most of the time. For most JRPGs, so it's a real big wait and see. I think it's probably gonna end up being a pass for me though.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm like in the middle. I think I want to play it, but I just want to see like the reviews first. I want to see like how like the story goes and like how the combat, if it's actually in depth. So, yep, Vengeance of Mana this summer coming to Xbox as well as other platforms, PlayStation and PC. No Switch though. I think it might be on the Switch too. So, we'll see. The next title, Ara History Untold. This is not coming to Xbox, so it's coming to PC. This is like a strategy game like Civ 5. I don't really have much to say about this. I don't really play these types of games, which is like the one genre I still haven't like dabbled in. But this is launching on fall on PC Game Pass as well. So I don't know if you guys are interested in Our History Untold.
Yeah, I can quickly say that, yeah, I'm very similar to you. I don't really play games like this either. It is admittedly a very big get for them. Civilization is a massive series. It has a huge player base. People love it. It is very in-depth, very complicated, and it takes a long time. Like, it takes hundreds of hours to even really to begin to understand what's going on in those games and to really kind of master them in any kind of way. I have a friend who plays Civilization 5, and he's like, oh yeah, it took me like 100 hours before I started understanding really like the basics. And I'm like, okay, well, that's something I can stay away from. So this is a really big deal for a lot of people who are really into those games. Not for me, though.
I think this is funny. I think this is a funny dichotomy of this group we've assembled here together with the three of us, because I think we have this varied taste in games in some ways that actually can help us quite a bit. And the reason I bring that up is because I actually do play these type of games. So I feel like I can kind of speak on this a little bit here and say that, I mean, first things first, like they had already revealed the game, right? This was more of like a game overview, game deep dive kind of thing. This game is beautiful. Like, I have never seen a Civ-esque game that looks this good. Like, I was impressed with the visuals. And the second thing that really stood out to me with this game is it seems to me like they're having a little bit more focus on, it looks like they have a little bit more focus on like the cities themselves. And so in Civ 6 is obviously the most recent one, and that's the one I've played quite a bit of in the past year or two. Like Civ 6, the cities are the cornerstone of a Civ game in general, right? But the cities themselves kind of feel like a gameplay mechanic and not necessarily have a ton of personality to them. You do, of course, have, you know, the different civs you're playing as. They look different visually in some ways. They operate differently from a gameplay perspective. But the thing that really stuck out to me with this game that I, you know, definitely was appreciating was like the cities look so cool. You know, they do like this zoom in mechanic on certain parts of the trailer where they're just looking at like the insides of the cities and they just feel like way more alive than they ever have. They look great. I could see myself definitely spending a lot of time on this game. If anybody ever has an interest in these types of games, these 4X games, they are, you know, they're really fun. I highly recommend them. You just have to be really careful with your time because, man, they can eat up a lot of it. Because, like, you get started up and, you know, everybody always says, like, the one more turn thing when it comes to Civ. Like, you can really get caught in this loop of just, like, oh, you know, this building is, you know, 3 turns away from being built. I'll just play till that building's built. and then the building gets built and you started something else up and you start playing that forever. And so like this game is giving me a lot of that similar vibe. It to me, it reminds me obviously a lot of Civ 6, but it just looks visually better in every way. Gameplay looks, a little bit better. I will say something I really do like, and it remains to be seen. Obviously, I need to get my hands on this game. The menus look a lot cleaner than they did in Civ 6, which to me was never, I would say, a significant hurdle to the game, but it is quite overwhelming as a new player. So maybe they can do a little bit more to refine like the new player experience, because frankly, like the first time you step into one of these games, you are in utter disbelief at what you're even supposed to be doing. So hopefully,
very overwhelming.
Hopefully they can clean up the new player experience. But yeah, I'm very impressed by this game. This was the highlight of the direct for me, for sure.
Highlight, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting from you, Cameron, because this is like, when I saw this, I'm like, I don't know, I kind of tuned out, but I also liked how the cities and stuff. So like, I guess you start from like, is this like something that, so you start from like the Stone Age or something like that?
Yeah, so you can kind of tweak with your settings, but basically the premise is like you can start from the Stone Age and then, or prehistoric, I think maybe they call it, but you start from like an early age, and then the limited technology, limited buildings you can make, limited like army units and combat and things like that. But as the game goes on, as you do more turns, as you build up some of your cities, you basically develop into further ages. So like, I do this amount of research, I go from modern age to like space age, right? And then space age to so on and so forth. So yeah, no, it's a fun little mechanic, and like seeing the cities grow is part of the fun, but this looks like totally next level. Like this is like hugely different visually compared to, they do change in Civ 6. I don't mean to just completely downplay that, but this looks much more drastic, I would say.
Got it. Yeah, Stone Age was was a terrible term to say, but yeah, prehistoric.
Oh no, I think it makes sense too. People know what you mean. Prehistoric's probably not right either, to be honest with you. Who knows what it's called?
Yeah. So yeah, this one I'm not gonna play, but I'm happy for those that did enjoy it, like you, Cameron. I mean, there's a lot of people that were hyped for this, so
yeah.
There we go. Fall 2024, and the last game they showed, which is the major one, is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which is also coming in 2024. We're not sure what's the specific date, but there's also a rumor that it's gonna launch closer than you think. So we'll see about that, but. Well, when I saw this, I'm like, oh, this looks really good. And then I saw that it was in first person, which is interesting, which makes sense because this is from Machine Games, who makes like the Wolfenstein games, which are all in first person. So for this one, Indiana Jones, they showed a lot of gameplay in here. I think this is like the first time they showed it. So I'm surprised. Like there was a lot they showed. I'm like, oh snap, this looks good. I mean, this is like one of the huge titles for Xbox. I mean, PlayStation, they got Spider-Man, and now Xbox has Indiana Jones. I guess the one thing is that it's in first person, but there was also third person sections, which is fine. So I think it just like it makes it like unique for Indiana Jones. So it doesn't look like an Uncharted clone, even though Uncharted is like a clone of Indiana Jones, but you know what I mean. So Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I mean, Henry, are you interested in this one?
I don't know. See, here's the thing is, I was not really impressed by the gameplay that they showed off for this game. It seemed pretty one-note and uninteresting to me personally. I do not have a connection with Indiana Jones as a property. The only movie I've ever seen is actually Crystal Skull. So that's considered to be like the worst one, I'm pretty sure, by like a long shot. I don't have any reverence for the series. The thing I do care about is Machine Games. The developer behind it, who made the new Wolfenstein series. I actually think the first Wolfenstein game is really, really good. Probably like one of the best first-person shooter campaigns I've played in general. The second one, I was not as big of a fan of. And it honestly seems like this game doesn't have a lot of guns in it. So it's that was kind of like what a lot of people really liked about the original Wolfenstein, or the remake of Wolfenstein, was its gunplay. And this game doesn't seem like it's really focusing on that, because Indy's not really a gunman. He's more of like a punch him, whip him up kind of guy, which seems to be what the gameplay they showed off kind of focused on. But that just looked pretty one note and interesting. You said, Alexis, you were kind of bringing up the first-person perspective. I think it is a very odd decision for this property to go first-person. I think it seems like they kind of were wishy-washy on it, because they do have third-person sections, and it's weird how they implement them. It's like only when he's like climbing things and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know. It just seems like they didn't really know what they wanted to do with this game, to be quite honest. And I don't know if like Machine Games was the best developer to give it to. I'm sure it'll still be good. Will it be great? That is my main question, and I'm gonna have to wait and see. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Cameron, do you have anything you want to say about Indiana Jones? Are you a fan of this new first-person adventure game?
I very similar to Henry, actually. I've only seen like 1.5 of the movies in this series, and so I have like no great affection for Indiana Jones in general, I would say. But yeah, the game looks good to me, but I just don't have interest, to be honest with you. Like, it isn't the style that I'm super into, just in general, as far as games go, and the way that it looks is fine, but I just don't personally see myself like having a super big level of investment. I'm generally speaking just not really like super into, whether it's movies, books, games, whatever it is, not generally super into like the Indiana Jones vibe. So, you know, however you take that, elaborating on that will probably make it even more confusing. So I'll leave it there. But yeah, I don't have a ton to say about this one, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys. I'm not really into Indiana Jones like that. I think I've seen like one movie, but I just forgot what the title of it was. But I for a third person, I think at first I was like sour on the first person, but I think over time it might be a good decision. I mean, we'll see. I mean, Uncharted. It's funny because Uncharted is like how do you say it? It's sort of like it was inspired by Indiana Jones, and
Definitely,
yeah,
Absolutely.
and then now you see like Uncharted is like right up there for with Indiana Jones, at least in the gaming circle, at least. So I mean, we'll see. First person adventure game. There's a huge get for Xbox, so this is launching 2024 day one on Game Pass. Is also executive produced by Todd Howard, so we'll see if he can cook something up with Indiana Jones. So we'll see about that. That was it for the Xbox show. I think for my rating, I think I'll give it like a C. Average, honestly. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, probably like a C minus. I wasn't interested in the vast majority of what I saw. Now I'm less interested in Avowed. Probably like just as interested in Hellblade, if not maybe a little bit less, knowing it's like a very short experience. I'm not interested in Visions of Mana or Aura, and I was hoping to be wowed by Indiana Jones, but I was not. So most of these games are kind of wait and sees for me. So I really don't think they did a great job selling me on it.
Yeah, I'd go like C range, probably B minus maybe. There was like, you know, out of the 5 big hitters here that we've been talking about, 2 of them caught my eye. So I mean, I feel like that's okay-ish. You know what I mean? So I'd say like C, B minus, somewhere around there.
Got you. Yeah, this was an okay show. I like that they showed a lot of gameplay for all their titles, so that was a plus for me. So
Agreed.
that's it for the Xbox show. So all right, so the next title, this is like one of the biggest surprises of this year, was Palworld. This is
Insane.
that they showed this off a couple years ago, I think at the Game Awards or something. The premise is just like Pokemon with guns or something like that. It's like a survival game, so like Ark, but surprisingly it has sold 8 million in less than
Yeah.
6 days. When I was first writing this out, it was at 2 million, and this was like a week ago, and now it's just 8 million. It's probably even higher than that right now. So this is
It
like,
definitely is.
yeah, I mean, this is like, I never expected this. This was on my radar for like a long time, and then it just kind of just blew up. It's an early access release, which is on Steam as well as on Game Pass for Xbox. So it's not on any other system. Like I think PlayStation missed out on this. We'll see. There might be a port of it. So yeah, I don't know if you guys think about like Palworld. Like this is like a huge get for the company. There's like an indie studio, I believe. So
Yeah, they're very small.
yeah, I mean, this is like, oh, Henry, what do you think about this? I mean, 8 million sold for like a new studio, which is insane.
It's crazy. I think uh, they clearly hit something that people wanted, which was, I don't know if we touched on it yet, but it's Pokemon. Pokemon in a survival aspect, and there's also guns. Their tagline for marketing is pretty much Pokemon with guns. Which I actually, for the podcast, because I have Game Pass, I was like, I'm gonna try out, because I know this is the big news story pretty much of the week, is Palworld is pretty much sweeping the world by storm. And I tried it out for like 3 or 4 hours, bro. I haven't touched a gun. Like I'm nowhere near touching a gun.
Oh wow.
So it's weird that they are marketing it as this Pokemon with guns game when guns are present, but like the player doesn't get access to them. I would assume until at least 8 to 10 hours into the game, which is a pretty big investment, if you ask me. But this is overall, though, I get the appeal, and that's weird because I don't like survival games. I'm not really big into them. And I played this game for about 3 or 4 hours, and once you get over that initial hump of every survival game where you have to figure out how everything works and how to put everything together, like I started to enjoy myself. I like Pokemon in terms of the aspect of collecting monsters and leveling them up and all that other stuff. In this game, your Pokemon have a lot, or your pals, I guess are now what they're called.
Yep.
Your pals have a lot of utility. They can help you build your base. You know, instead of waiting for something to get done, you can order your pals to do it for you. You can send them to attack other pals in kind of a Pokemon like Arceus, like one of the newer Pokemon games. You know, very not turn based, but like kind of open world catching and stuff. This is clearly like, and this is still obviously early access, so there's a lot of work that still needs to be done to this game. But a lot of what is going on here is honestly stuff I think that Pokemon Company in general with these games have really dropped the ball on. The series, in terms of Pokemon, has always been slow to evolve, and honestly, like, pretty technically shoddy, especially recently. They really have been really dropping the ball on these games, and Palworld clearly came in and took an area that people wanted and provided. To say it blew up is an understatement. I think similar to you, Alexis, I was updating the doc. And when I wrote it, it was like 7 million. That was just like a couple of days ago. Right. So like I updated to 7 million. Obviously, it's now at 8, and that's not including Game Pass sales at all. Like that, everybody with Game Pass has access to it. So like that is clearly a very small number of people who own this game. My main thing is like, will this game stick around? Is this a flash in the pan or not? I think this was massively inflated. Like the talking around it was massively inflated by every streamer, every YouTuber you know is playing this game. That kind of momentum or marketing for any game is going to do really, really well. On top of Pokemon in general is a very viral thing, and survival games are huge hits across the board normally. It's just in the right place at the right time doing the right thing, and it's obviously doing well at it. So what do you think, Cameron?
Yeah, I think I have a lot to say about this. This is such an interesting, like this is such an interesting story in the video game space. Honestly, I was going to say this year, but even further back than that. I mean, this is huge. And so, you know, kind of the first thing I was going to mention that you hit on is all these streamers playing this. It reminds me of Among Us, how it just came out of nowhere, which that's a little different because that game had been out for some time before it got kind of picked up on, whereas this hadn't. But it reminds me of that like zeitgeist of, streamers and it just getting blown up, and it's almost like a domino effect to where it blows up even more. Just something on the sales numbers real quick I found. So the 7 million was the first 5 days. Pokemon Legends Arceus, or Arceus, Pokemon fans are going to correct me on that pronunciation. First week, 6.5 million. So in 5 days, Palworld outsold Pokemon Legends Arceus first week by 500,000 copies, which to me already is insane. And then the fact that it's still continuing to grow, like this thing, sky's the limit. I mean, I actually dropped for you guys on our little prep sheet a link to Craftopia. If you want to check that out, check that link and tell me, you guys, that isn't a Breath of the Wild clone. So these guys have found a niche that they can fill. And I would say legally distinct to Breath of the Wild is the vibe that image is getting off, and this is directly from the
same developer.
It is, yeah. So this is Pocket Pair, who made Palworld. And maybe we can put the link in the description for the episode. But this game, this is complicated for me because like I have been kind of digging into the legal aspect of this and actually seeing kind of, industry experts sort of agreeing that they do not think Pokemon Company has a case here, which I find super interesting because like looking at this game, Palworld is what I'm referring to, looking at Craftopia, which is their only previous game for this company, Pocket Pair, based in Japan as well, which looks identical to Breath of the Wild. This is so funny to me, like in the goofiest of ways, how you can get away with doing something like this, because like I understand copycat games have been a thing forever, but this is like so close. I mean, the Craftopia link I dropped for the guys here in our prep sheet, like it looks like Link. Like it's a guy with his back to the camera and he has a little bike next to him. And it's so funny to me because it's like these copycat games come out and every now and then, very rarely, they blow up like Palworld is doing. And something I liked that you said, Henry, is Pokemon Company has dropped the ball in a lot of ways these past few years. So, this is what happens, right? People want a game that functions correctly and doesn't have, drops to 10 frames a second, like their most recent game did. And like somebody stepped in and did it and released it on a different console. And this is what happens. I mean, like, this is fascinating to me. Like we can as a group, I think, and Henry, you've already said this, but it bears repeating. Like we cannot understate like 8 million sales in less than 6 days. That is so massive. I mean, we were talking about Atelier Ryza last week, which I have some more Atelier games in my impressions, but we were like, oh my God, it sold 1 million copies lifetime, which was shocking for that series. Completely different series. I'm not comparing the two, but what I'm bringing up just for context is like the fact that 1 million can be monumental for this other series life to date. Palworld 8 million less than 6 days. I mean, I have no idea how much this is going to end up at, but like sky's the limit. Like this is crazy. I personally, like speaking for myself, have zero interest in this game. I wouldn't play it even if, I logged on to Game Pass right now and was like, oh, I can play this immediately. I might check it out like you did just to kind of get the industry impression, because I do think that's valuable. But I have no interest in like finishing, you know what I mean? Playing this game start to finish. Like I am, okay-ish with Pokemon, I would say. Like I'll check one out every few iterations. Pokemon with guns as a premise, like as you mentioned, it's really not that prominent if you haven't even run into it hours in. But that premise to me, like this is one of my biggest pet peeves in the gaming space when stuff is like edgy. That just sounds so edgy to me, and I'm like, I have no interest in this game. But
it has a
insane.
weird edge to it in the game, yeah.
Yeah.
There's like cursing in the game,
Oh,
and like
interesting.
it's like weird. But it's like very minimal. And again, like the guns are there, but it's like very minimal. There's a weird edge to this game that I don't know. I don't know why it's there. I'm sure you can probably make it more prominent or less prominent as they go because it is still early access. But yeah, it's the game itself has no edgy vibe at all. It is like playing a Pokemon Breath of the Wild game, and I think that you posting that link makes so much sense because there is a lot of like Breath of the Wild DNA in Palworld. That was something I noticed, and I don't hear anybody talking about that. When I was playing it last night for the podcast, I was like, oh, there's a lot of Breath of the Wild DNA. There's obviously like the stereotypical like stamina meter climbing on every surface, but like there's even like when you enter a new area, it uses almost an identical sound to when you like enter a temple in Breath of the Wild. Like, it's like a ding ding ding, like it's like God. Oh my gosh, like this is the same font, the same color. It's not the exact same font, but a very similar font, the same color. It's very very like Breath of the Wild. You can even like find like things in the environment to like upgrade your stuff, like kind of like Breath of the Wild as well. It's definitely sewn into the DNA. It's not exactly what the game is. That game that you just posted is 100% what that is. But like this is a little bit more like woven in there. I also would say this is weirdly not the first. You brought up like there's a gap that has been filled by Palworld. I honestly think that there's been several like Pokemon competitors that have popped up over the years, and some have been successful and some have not. This is clearly a big deal though. Like I don't know if you guys heard of like Tim.
Yes. Yep.
That was like a direct Pokemon ripoff. I don't know what the heck happened to that game. I don't hear anybody talking about it. Stuff like Yokai Watch. That game was huge in Japan for a very long time. It's totally dead now. But like these are direct competitors to Pokemon. I don't know if we're gonna see this stick around. Possibly, but like it seems like most Pokemon competitors somehow fade out, which is why I will see what happens here. Also the legal aspect. There's a lot of legal stuff around this. And I don't know if, Alexis, you are the host.
Yeah.
But I'm going to help you out, and I'm going to segue into the Pokemon Company has come out and said that they are investigating this game for potential copyright infringement. Because a lot of the Pokemon look a lot like
very
Pokemon.
Close.
It's kind of crazy. And I agree with most of the industry analysts. There's not really a lot of leg to stand on here. Because if you look at something like a Pokemon or a Tim, a Yokai Watch, the many other people who have tried to do something similar to Pokemon, you will find almost all of them have like a Pikachu of sorts and a Charmander of sorts and so on and so forth. It's really hard to prove like you directly copied and are stealing their IP in this instance. I think Pokemon Company mainly just came out to say, like, please shut the frick up. Like, we get it. We've heard, like, they have a game that looks like ours. Like, we'll look at it, but they are probably not going to do anything. Alexis, I'll pass it over to you, though. I've talked enough on that.
Yeah, so when you brought up this, like, Pokemon Company, I do think that they wanted people, like, to shut up about it because they're all over, like, on Twitter just talking about it, but... there was also this one mod that came out for Palworld that someone made of Ash Ketchum, and then there's like actual Pokemon like models in there as like to like replace the other pals in the game. And there's a video on it, and it's funny because it was on Twitter. It got copyright strike already, so you can't even see it anymore. And I guess it's probably that what they're referring to, because they're in their statement they talked about like using their assets and their IP. So I think it's more of the modding of the guy that the one that the some modder made. So yeah, I mean, this is like for like I wanted to talk about the pals because I was like I was having like a 50-50 thing on it. So I think it's because this company has a history of using AI and stuff. Well, at least they're like the president or whatever. They're like on Twitter, explaining how AI is the future and stuff, and they're like mostly into stuff like that. So like when you see like Craftopia, we were talking about earlier, like you just see it's like it's Breath of the Wild clone. Like the character there's wearing like a blue tunic, so it's like so clearly inspired by Zelda. So um, I mean, for this one, I mean, I if there is a case for like them using AI from Pokemon, I think Nintendo has a case here, which is crazy because if you say this online, people will call you like a Nintendo dick rider for some reason. I mean, I'm just like stating the obvious. Just looking at their eyes, looking at the designs is like so similar. Like there's like a thread like online of like different Pokemon designs. I'm like, oh snap, this is like there's like if AI made this, I wouldn't be surprised, which is crazy. And then this game just blowing up. I guess this is one of the main reasons why the Pokemon Company and Nintendo are like talking about it.
So yeah, I'll touch on the AI aspect because I think that's a very interesting conversation around this. So when I first saw this, like I saw the controversy surrounding this game, and I was like, oh, it's another big game. It's when something becomes popular enough, people just like to just dog on it. They just like they dogpile on it, and they just start hating on it for no reason. And so I started looking at this stuff from a very high level perspective. I did not have my eyes on Palworld at all, and I was like, oh, like this is just such an overreaction. This is ridiculous. And then I started looking at it, and like the more I looked at it, I was like, I don't know. Like this actually does kind of look a little fishy. And now the more I look at this company's practices, the more it kind of adds up that like maybe they kind of did copy some stuff. I'm not saying there was a direct copy, but in terms of AI, this developer does have a history with AI. They actually have a game that is specifically centered around AI generated art. So they definitely know how to use it. And there's actually a developer, I think it was maybe the president of the company, who tweeted out at one point, like, this is AI generated Pokemon that I made. Like, it was like a list of, or like a group of pictures of AI generated Pokemon. He was like, I can hardly tell what the real Pokemon are and what the AI generated ones are anymore. And I was like, oh, well, this is a little suspicious now that people are accusing this game of making AI generated art. And then you look at some of these Pokemon, and they clearly have elements that are from actual Pokemon. And the way AI works, obviously, is it feeds in a lot of information, a lot of these pictures of these Pokemon, and so it generates these new Pokemon, or pals in this case, with the information with those previous pictures using that, previous Pokemon. So it has to use elements from those previous Pokemon if it's going to generate any new ones. So that's the whole controversy around AI is like, well, let's say this was AI. Well, there's obviously a huge controversy in just using AI art in general because it cuts out artists. Like now artists are going to lose their job because we can just generate art for nothing, for just using an AI model.
That's like copyright infringement. I mean, they, for some reason, there's a lot of people like online, like they said that they have 40 artists on the game. So I'm torn apart like of like whether this is like actual AI because, I mean, there's actual artists listed in the credits. So I mean that's all I have to say about this. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to this discussion, Cameron.
No, I think you guys said it best.
All right, so Palworld 8 million sold in about 6 days. Congrats to them. We'll see if there's any more sales updates in the future. So, and then now we have the rumor mill, the section of the podcast where we talk about rumors and leaks and stuff. The first one is Assassin's Creed Black Flag may be getting a remake, according to some profiles on LinkedIn. According to those profiles, it was started work late last year on an unannounced Assassin's Creed project. This was also rumored from a Kotaku article last year that Black Flag was getting remade. I guess now like all of that is coming together. We're not sure how reliable Kotaku is, but they said Black Flag was getting remade, so it kind of makes sense that this new project for Assassin's Creed might be that, or it could also be like the other project of Assassin's Creed in Japan. So yeah, Black Flag getting a remake. Are you guys excited for this? Are you fans of Assassin's Creed?
I'm not a big Assassin's Creed guy myself. I've only played like I think one of them that I can remember at least, maybe two. And it was fine. It was fine, and I didn't really have a desire to go back, obviously. But I think it's cool when I think it's cool when a game gets a remake if there's has its dedicated fans. Like, just a benefit to them, right? Like if they want to get the remake, they can. If they don't, you don't. And so I think I think it's fine. But no strong feelings either way for me.
Yeah, I can add a little bit more to that. I used to be an Assassin's Creed fan. I really hate the first game. It's probably like my least favorite game I've ever played back in the day. But like after that, like 2 and Brotherhood really picked up that series, and I've played almost all of them. Not the more recent ones. So Valhalla and Odyssey, I skipped because they were too long. I started Odyssey and I zoomed the camera out and I immediately uninstalled the game because the map was so big. I was like, no way. I am not about to do this. This is too much. That being said, Black Flag is known to be like the best, like a traditional Assassin's Creed at the very least. It was so successful they actually decided to make a game called Skull and Bones based on the pirate ships battles in that game, which nobody cares about anymore. It was actually very funny because I remember when that game came out and they actually sent out a survey to people who bought the game and said, "Do you want more pirate ship battles?" And they got an overwhelmingly positive response, and that's why they started making Skull and Bones. And now like nobody cares about that game. What a turn on that was. But the point I'm trying to make is I'm not probably going to play this because they'd have to change a lot. Assassin's Creed is one of those series that like incrementally evolves as it goes. So like once you play one, you're like, oh, well now they've incorporated this new mechanic that is really hard to go back to the older games without. So I think Black Flag's probably going to fall in that category unless again they remake it using all the modern stuff. Make it a lot snappier and really kind of polish it up a lot. There's not really a huge reason for me to go back to this. Kind of fallen out of love with the Assassin's Creed franchise, so we'll see. Maybe my nostalgia will hit me by the time it comes out, and they'll wow me with some stuff when it actually gets revealed. But at the moment, I'm not too excited about it though.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, Black Flag. I'm interested in this one, in this remake. Maybe it can be in 60 FPS. High resolution, so keeping my eye on this one. This was just started work late last year, so we won't be seeing it for a while. All right, so the next title that was rumored is Until Dawn, which is getting supposedly a PS5 and a PC port for some reason. This was a 2015 horror cinematic game for the PS4, so this was like almost like 10 years ago. For this one, I think I'm not interested in this one. I think the PS4 version is just fine. It doesn't really have to be like in 60 FPS. I think it works well with 30 FPS because it's sort of like a movie. So you don't really need all them extra frames. Maybe it can be like in 4K probably. So for this one, for the PC port, that's good for them since that's like first time they're getting it. But for a PS5 version, I don't know if they're going to do an upgrade for it like The Last of Us Part 2. But for this one, this is a skip for me. I already have the PS4 version, and I already like watched it and played it like twice. So I don't know about you, Cameron, if you're interested. Until Dawn.
Yeah, it's kind of similar feelings as you, to be honest, Alexis. Like I have played this game like 1.5 times, which is always funny. I started a replay and was like, it doesn't hit the same the second time around, you know what I mean? Once you kind of already know everything that's going to happen. As a huge horror movie fan myself, like I obviously loved my first go round. It did get me hooked on this studio, and I've played a lot of their other games. So that was kind of a nice introduction to them back when this game came out. But I don't see the need, kind of like you, Alexis. I don't see the need to really upgrade it for myself. So I'll definitely be skipping this one. But I know, Henry, you had mentioned something about the movie they're planning on. So I think, probably something to do with that. Kind of feels like there's a through line there.
Yeah, so I'm almost the exact same as you guys. I played this game a couple of times when it came out. I really enjoyed it, but I have no intention on going back to it at any point. They actually have made several more games in that vein. What are they called? Like Dark Pictures Anthology? Yeah, Dark Pictures Anthology, and those games have not been received super hot. So who knows if like Until Dawn was just like their big, one-hit wonder kind of deal, but I definitely think that this is a tie-in. So Sony has made a lot of initiatives recently to turn all their video game properties pretty much into movies or TV shows. You've seen that with The Last of Us. You've seen that with Twisted Metal. You've seen that with Gran Turismo, the movie.
Yes.
So like they are clearly just taking anything and everything and making it into some kind of a film, and that makes sense because Sony has a pictures division. Sony Pictures or movies that they own, that they publish movies through. That's who makes Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. So they are clearly just trying to put this out there for when the movie comes out. People who see the movie and they say, oh, this is based on a video game, well, let me check out the video game. And then they'll buy the video game, and they'll buy that new, instead of the cheap, instead of the cheap PS4 version that's been out for, a decade, they'll buy that $60 PS5 or PC port instead. And, you kind of saw something like that happen with The Last of Us Part 1. The HBO show was such a massive success. A lot of the sales for The Last of Us Part 1 just came from a large audience being introduced to it through the show and wanting to pick it up through that. So I think that there's a lot of cross promotion going on here. There's a lot of cross promotion happening here, and Sony is just kind of smart to be putting eggs in both baskets, I guess. But that's my take.
Yeah, I mean, they also announced there was like a PlayStation, no, it was like a Sony conference where they announced the God of War and Horizon are getting like TV shows or movies. They're like on Amazon and I forgot the other one. I think it was Netflix, I think. But yeah, God of War Horizon, I mean, they're making all their games into like movies. But the one thing that about this, real quick, is that like I don't know why they're remastering Until Dawn, because I feel like there's like a lot of titles that could really use like a port or like or a remaster. I would say like Bloodborne. I've been playing that lately, so I feel like that in 30 FPS is terrible. I mean, it plays fine, but 30 FPS, it just makes your eyes like bleed just playing it. So I'm like, why couldn't have Bloodborne been the one that got remastered? I mean, I think it would have sold more instead of Until Dawn, because Until Dawn is like, what do you get from like a PS5 version? So that's my take on it. I mean, that's all I have to say about it. If you guys have any closing thoughts on this one?
Nothing from me.
All right. So, so our last rumor, our last thing to discuss is Elden Ring. So, this is exciting for me. So, it just got updated on Steam. There was like an unknown DLC package added to the files on there. The expansion, of course, was announced like last year. So, it's been a long time coming for this one. And also, there's like a lot of leaks and rumors about this one. There was one about a controller collaboration. So this is huge because one of this DLC, which is Shadow of the Erdtree, which got announced, is coming supposedly in February of this year, maybe March, I believe. And then there was another DLC, another huge one coming in 2025. So there's like a long-term plan for this one. I'm not sure if FromSoft is just going to focus on Elden Ring and not release any games and just focus on these expansions, but Elden Ring DLC. I mean, I'm hyped for this one. I've been waiting for this one for a while. That's why I've been out and playing it to get ready for this one. What do you think about this one, Cameron? Elden Ring DLC?
I'm pretty hyped for this, man. I loved Elden Ring. I actually do prefer Bloodborne to it just ever so slightly, but I do love both of them and honestly love most of the Souls games. But yeah, no, I'm really excited for this. I think it's cool that they're clearly gearing up for the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC that's coming out soon. Very interested in that. I actually still need to go back and play the old Hunters on Bloodborne. I've never played the DLC for Bloodborne, even though I've beaten Bloodborne like 8 times. So it's kind of funny.
Dang.
But yeah, no, maybe not 8. It's close though, to be honest with you, man. I think it's like 5 or 6. Yeah, because those games, the beauty of those games is once you kind of know where everything is, it's really not as long as you would think.
True.
I remember my most recent Bloodborne playthrough was like basically a freaking speed run because it's just like I know where everything is and where all the bosses are and stuff that are mandatory to progress. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Elden Ring DLC. I did have some problems with Elden Ring compared to a lot of the other Souls games in the sense that this is just me because I spoke to tons of people about Elden Ring and I was pretty much the odd man out here, but I didn't really care much for like the last, I would say like quarter / last fifth of the game. I kind of got worn out in the last like area or two, the snowy area in particular. I was like, all right, I'm ready to pack it up. And so I am had some time away from the game and I'm refreshed and ready to come back to it, I would say. So excited.
So you're saying it was just too long? Is that what you're saying the problem was?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a twofold problem. I think it's saying it's too long is accurate to a point for me, but also I think it's just that the areas near the end of the game I think are some of the worst. So it's like a combination of I was kind of ready for me to be done with the game, but also like some of the last areas are like my least favorite in the game. So that didn't really help anything. So yeah, kind of a twofold problem for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I feel like I'm the odd man out here because I do not really like Souls games, and I actually, it's, I'm gonna sound like a huge hypocrite here because I've played and beat Demon Souls, Dark Souls, and Elden Ring, and I've played like half of Bloodborne. And I actually really liked Elden Ring. Elden Ring was probably like my number 1 or number 2 game of that year. If like Ragnarok, like God of War Ragnarok was like one of my favorite, like I think like right in line with like my top games that year. But I really don't like the difficulty in these games. Like I play these games. I play games like I have enough stress in my life, Like I play games to not be stressed. And when I pick up one of these games, I feel like it is just inviting stress into your life. So I get these games. I understand why people love them. And I do think that there's some awesome stuff here. But I play them to be part of the conversation and to appreciate, honestly, what I really loved about Elden Ring was, one, you weren't always forced. Like in all the other Souls games, you have to proceed down a linear path. And if you hit a boss that you can't beat, too bad, suck it up and try again. Like you have to keep beating your head against that wall. In Elden Ring, you can turn around, go a different way, and you get stronger somewhere doing something else. And also, I just think that the design of the world is so amazing. There's something new and mysterious and interesting around every single corner. And that's what kept me going, was what is around that next corner? What can I look forward to seeing next? In this instance, DLC is one of those things that it's really hard for me to go back to a game after beating it. Specifically, like a year or 2 after I've beaten it, because now I have to relearn everything, have to get situated again, and, this is, I'm assuming, end-game DLC, which is intended to be played like by people after you beat the game with a skill ceiling of somebody who has beaten the game. So it's just going to be that much harder for me. I will unless people say, which they will, people will say this is the greatest thing ever.
Yes.
But like, unless people say this is the greatest thing ever, I will probably stay away from it and just kind of let it happen. That's me.
Got you. Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I mean, yeah, this is a long time coming because they announced it like last year, so it's like we need this now before, you know. You said you wouldn't want to play the DLC because it's been a while, so I think right now would be the perfect time to drop it for people in February. I don't know. I think March, since February is already stacked, so March would be perfect for them. So that is it for the news and topic discussions, and now we're gonna close it off with what we have been playing and our game impressions of what we are playing recently. I'll get started. So we were just talking about Elden Ring. I was also playing Bloodborne, so it's like my first time playing Bloodborne. My first Souls game was Dark Souls 3, and I think
Nice.
yeah, that one. So I never got into like the older games, and playing Bloodborne is very tough with 30 FPS. I think it also drops a lot, so it's very rough on the eyes.
Yeah.
So this is one of the games I was just waiting. I'm like, you know what? They're gonna remake this one day. I'm like, oh man, I don't
It's
have hope
insane
for
they haven't.
yeah, I don't have hope for a remake anymore. So I just been going into that, and it's fucking awesome, bro. Like I love the
Mhm.
setting of it. So this is like sort of like European, I guess, or like something like that.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
for this one, I've been having a lot of success with Bloodborne because I usually suck at Soulsborne games. So for Bloodborne, I've gone through like a couple bosses already. I'm like, oh, this is fun as hell. I die a lot, but I'm really liking like the combat in this one. I was only like 10 hours into Bloodborne, but I love it so far. So I can see the hype with it. And Elden Ring. So I never really finished Elden Ring. I was like 70 hours deep when it first came out. Yeah, 70 hours, like the first 2 months when it came out.
Dang.
And then I think I just stopped because I didn't know where to go, and I didn't want to look up like a guide online to see what to do. So I was just wandering aimlessly around. But right now I'm like near the end of the games of what one of my friends told me. He was watching me play yesterday. So I agree with you, Cameron, that it does drag on a lot at the end, and I don't really like the areas at the end. 'Cause it's like snow, right? It's like very like
Yeah.
ice, snow glacier. And it's like a lot of fog. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then there's a lot of tough enemies at the end. So I'm like, I'm nearing the end of the game. So I'm excited to finish that and get ready for the DLC. So Elden Ring.
Cool. Yeah, I wanna jump in here for a second, and so I will say it's funny that you say you're 10 hours into Bloodborne because like if you go back and replay it, which I have no idea if you will or not, you'll see such a difference in the time it takes you on a replay. It's so funny with this whole series. Like my first Bloodborne playthrough I think was like close to 40 hours, and my probably third or fourth was like 7. Like it's like actually hilarious how much of a difference it makes. But yeah, no, I love it, and you definitely feel the 30 FPS. Like it blows my mind that they have never either done like a patch for PS5s to update it or like made a remake or something. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy to me, and it's funny to hear you kind of agree with me on Elden Ring. Yeah, I think that snowy area, the name slips my mind. All the names of areas in Souls games, like there's no way I could just name an area. They have the weirdest names. But that snowy area I think is like legit one of my least favorite like in the series, and I've played almost every game in the series. I've never played Sekiro, which technically isn't included in that, but that's the only one I haven't played, and I absolutely hate that snowy area so much. So
There's like the whole I know what you mean by the names. I think I know some of the names like Limgrave, stuff like that, Volcano Manor or something like that, Lendale. I think more of the iconic places I know the names of, but yeah, the end is rough. I mean, I'm still liking it though. Like I'm still like enjoying.
oh yeah, yeah.
There's this one enemy that just irritates me, and that's the bear. Is like a polar bear.
Yep.
I can't kill him, bro. It's so hard. So he always gets me. So like every time I see him, I just run away because I saw like 3 of them at once. I'm like, hell no,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
out of there. I'm out of there. So yeah, those are the two main games I've been playing. I also played Grand Blue Fantasy Reeling demo for like 2 hours. It was okay. That was all right. I think the combat is kind of basic for this one, which I guess is like the main point of it. But I found it kind of easy as well. So that one, I'm just like, I'll just wait for a sale on it and see what the reception on it. And also, I've been playing NBA 2K23. This is what
Nice.
the 2K from last year. I don't really buy new sports games because it's a waste of money. But I just
Same.
play with my friends. We just go like into the park and just play like 3 versus 3. It's a lot of fun. I'm surprised. Like, it's a lot of people clown on these sports games, but I think they have a lot of fun and charm into them. Especially with this one, playing in the park with your friends.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's the same for you, but because I have been periodically playing Madden with the football playoffs going on, but these sports games, like, they are the perfect, like, chill game. Like,
Oh
I
yeah,
have a stressful day at work, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna hop on Madden. I don't have to think. I can play YouTube video in the background and just listen to a podcast or something. It's really nice to just be able to sit back and chill with these games, and like that's kind of the niche that it fills for me, and I have a lot of fun with them. I was really into 2K a while back, but haven't played one in a while. Um, I've had my feel like I've had my rounds with like every sports franchise. Like there was a time last year that I was playing MLB The Show like hours a week, like so much MLB The Show. So I totally hear you on that.
yeah. This is the one they gave away for free last year, so that's why I've been playing it. Like,
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
I'm not paying full price for, especially $70 too. Like they raised it for like no reason. So
For a roster update. Like that's pretty much all
yes,
it is, man. They do not change these games very much at all.
yeah, and
So
they sell a lot too. I mean, yeah.
oh yeah.
What about you, Henry? Baldur's Gate 3. You want to talk about that? Just
I would love to talk about Baldur's Gate
go
3.
for it.
So I am pretty deep into the game at this point. I am pretty early on in Act 3. So there's 3 acts to the game. So I'm kind of teetering on the end of the game at this point. It's a very long game. I'm like 65, 70 hours in. And I'm probably got another 20 maybe 30 hours left.
Wow.
It's meaty. I think. Have any of you guys played any of Larian's previous games? So like Divinity: Original Sin was like the big one before this one.
I
No.
beat Divinity 1 and I felt like it was a solid 7 for me. Like I liked it. I liked some things and I didn't like other things. Yeah, that's my only experience with Larian.
Alexis, you?
I've only played like Baldur's Gate 2 like a long time ago, but that was
Oh
it.
dang.
But that's
Okay,
not Larian,
yeah.
I don't think, right?
That is not Larian.
Okay.
So Larian got the rights to Baldur's Gate. But basically, Baldur's Gate is what their games have been based on. So I played Divinity: Original Sin 2, and I thought it was fine. It was okay. I'm not a huge CRPG guy. I don't love turn-based combat that much. And I thought the story and characters were okay. The world was okay. It was their original world that they came up with. So Baldur's Gate is obviously based on Cameron, maybe you can speak a little bit more to this, but I believe Dungeons and Dragons is
Yep.
based on Dungeons and Dragons. So it is coming from an established IP and an established world. And I'd say that this game, comparative to Divinity: Original Sin, is leagues better. At least for what I want out of these games. So if either of you have, I'm assuming you guys have played something like Mass Effect, like from BioWare.
Yes.
If you guys have played Dragon Age Origins,
Yeah, Dragon
like
Age,
the
yep.
first Dragon Age game, this is basically that. It's a very similar formula to that. You have your turn-based combat, CRPG elements, and then you have like every dialogue choice you have multiple options. There's a lot of interesting options amongst those, and a lot of creative options that gives the player a lot of freedom in how they choose and make decisions. A lot of gray area. And most notably, very interesting story and characters. BioWare is definitely known for having very interesting characters at the very least, and I think that this game kind of knocks it out of the park with that. I touched on it a little bit earlier, but like the quest design in this game, it makes me feel like we're in a new age of games. Like every single side quest, everything you do, the main quest, the side quests, companion quests, everything are so interesting and so deep and tie into the main story in ways. And you know, like you'll do one side quest in the first act and you won't be able to see, or it will come back up in act 3.
Awesome.
And you know, depending on how you decided to interact with that quest, or that quest line will continue throughout the game. It's not just like a one-off side quest. It's a side quest where that character follows you throughout the entirety of the campaign. It's got massive payoffs. It's got a lot of little options throughout the game. It's not even a side quest, but I was like running through an area and I found a tombstone on the edge of a cliff, and I had the option to dig up that tombstone. I dug up the tombstone. Inside was a dog collar. Keep with me on this.
Gotcha.
I go to another area in a totally separate part of the game. It's a magical tower. I go up to the tower. I start exploring the tower. I find a bowl and a button next to the bowl. I press the button. And I get this interaction. It says, "Hey, something in your inventory just like made it like reacted to this button." I was like, "What the heck is going on here?" I take out the dog collar. I equip the dog collar. I press the button again, and a piece of steak falls out onto the bowl. It's like just that little stuff. It's stuff like that
That's
that
awesome.
is everywhere in this game. Every time you have decisions to make in a quest, you have the ability to pretty much do whatever you want. Like, there's often options that I see that are, you know, like things I wouldn't have even considered doing. Or I look at them like, oh, dang, this game is allowing me to do that? That's kind of crazy. I think this is clearly where, like, this game shines. Companions are all awesome. Like, there's a lot of games where you have companions that are just boring. Like, I don't know if either you guys played Starfield last year, but all your companions are just a bunch of nothing. They are so bland and boring. They have no backstories. They have hardly any personalities. Every single companion in this game has an interesting personality and an interesting backstory that not only, like, do you have, like, an interesting quest line attached to all of them, but they all tie into the main story at some point, too. So it's like, there's so much going on here. That's really where I take the most away from this. And I think that's, if you're wanting that, you get a lot of that in this game. From the combat, I'm still a little bit hesitant on this because combat is so long, it's so drawn out. This game is already long as it is, and CRPG combat is always something that takes a long time, and I'm very stingy with my time. So it's really hard for me to, like, justify, you know, going into an encounter and spending 30 minutes on a battle. With it, and that's just like a random battle that happened in, like, you know, the street or something like that. A lot of it's very Dungeons and Dragons-esque, so like there's a lot of like literal dice rolls that happen in this game. They can sometimes be frustrating. I know that early on in the game, I had a battle that I had to retry like 6 times because I just kept getting bad dice rolls.
Was it the goblin base?
You say that again?
Was it the goblin base or whatever? I remember how a lot of
it actually was
Okay,
the goblin
all right.
base. Yeah. So the goblin base is really the first time. It's in Act 1. It's really the first time that the game is like, if you have just been like throwing fireballs and just hitting people with axes this whole time, you're just gonna get messed up. So like that's what happened to me. Is I was like, like I don't really care. I'm just here for the story, and I didn't really engage with like the systems that much. And then like I got to this goblin camp, which is really like the first like real test of your skill. It has like bosses and a lot of combat encounters back to back to back. And I was just like, I had to continue to reload and reload and reload. It got really frustrating. Not only was I clearly not set up correctly for those encounters, but I also like didn't know how to. It took me about a good 15 to 20 hours before I was like totally comfortable with every single one of the mechanics that you have to interact with in this game. It's pretty deep in that way, especially if you aren't touching any of these systems in like any other kind of games. You're not used to it. So like that can be frustrating, but it also leads to some really cool moments. I'm sure that Cameron can attest to this in a normal Dungeons and Dragons campaign. You know, like you have those moments, and sometimes that dice roll just makes things more exciting. You didn't think you were gonna get that really cool thing to happen, and then you rolled a 20, and now you like that thing that you didn't think was gonna happen did, and like that happens all the time in Baldur's Gate 2. So at the end of the day, I'm really pleasantly surprised by this game. A lot of people said it won Game of the Year at the Game Awards, depending on how you consider that to be a valid award or not. But it's been praised significantly, and this is from a game that was also up against like a Zelda game. You know, like that's crazy that people would not give a Zelda game of the Year and give it to some studio that really hadn't had a massive success until this game. It's funny because Microsoft, in one of their leaks during the like when they were being sued, or they were for buying Activision, leaks came out from their emails that they offered like they give certain for games to come on Game Pass, they give a certain payout. And so they offered Larian a paltry amount of money for Baldur's Gate because their market analysis for this game was no one's going to freaking play it.
I remember
like
that.
These previous games didn't really sell that well, and like this is a very niche genre of games that we really don't think is going to sell very well. And obviously Larian passed up that offer, and for obvious good reason. It came out that this game is amazing. It's selling incredibly well. It's one of the most concurrently played games on Steam in forever, I think. And I really I struggle to like highly recommend this to everyone because I think that not everyone is going to love it. But I think that if you really want a super in-depth story, if you like the idea of a Dungeons and Dragons based combat system, this game will really deliver. And I can't wait to get back to it. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, this is one of those break glass in case of emergency games for me, where I'm like, if I need something I'm gonna love, like I'm gonna buy this game. So I kind of alluded to it earlier, but since my brother and I do game share on PlayStation, when we buy something digital, obviously the other has it. And so we're kind of sitting on this, like, oh, we're going to probably play it around the same time. We both have these backlogs. This game has like basically not gone on sale. Like it was 10% off, and that was the absolute most
that's
it's
when
been
I
on
got
sale. And so I'm like, you know what? Honestly, I can wait it out. But man, everything I hear about it makes it way harder to sit back and wait on it, because I think I am going to love it. And like just a little bit of something I wanted to mention about, the system itself is like, yeah, it's straight up just D&D 5e, which is the current edition of D&D. And like, even with like movement and like combat itself. And so like, that is actually one of the things that is kind of an interesting, I guess, like discussion amongst the fan base of this game. And it's funny you actually alluded to it too, where like there is actually some dissenters of 5e's combat system, because it is very time consuming. And like even in our campaign, as somebody who's running a D&D campaign for years, some of my players like didn't love the fact that combat in D&D 5e takes forever, and like there's ways to speed it up, but it's just a cumbersome system. And like I would say overall I'm absolutely gonna come to this game for the story and the characters. The combat's for sure gonna be secondary to me, almost like a you got to eat your vegetables to get to the dessert kind of thing is how I look at it. But yeah, no, I'm super pumped on this game, and like I know for a fact I'm gonna love it. So the word of mouth, like I don't know that I've heard anybody talk overly negative about this. Like, if they have something they didn't like, that's a different story. But almost all the feedback I hear from this game is super positive. Alexis, do you have any interest in Baldur's Gate 3?
Have some interest. I guess the one thing about it is that it's turn-based CRPG, which is like, I guess like a turn off for a lot of people and for me as well. But it that also never went on sale because I don't want to risk like $70, and I'm like,
Sure.
I'm indifferent about it. But it's funny you brought up the Microsoft thing. I think it was around like $10 million just for Game Pass. It was like a couple years ago, which is crazy because if they actually managed to get that deal, that would have been like a insane deal for them. Since like I guess CRPGs are just like this is like the one that just broke into like the mainstream. Like
Yeah.
it's like there's like over like 10 million sales on this one. So yeah, I mean the CRPG is like a niche genre. So I'm surprised like it really broke into like the mainstream. I remember last year when there's all those videos of Baldur's Gate 3. I'm like, it's gonna be all right, but I'm like, it's not all right, but I was gonna say it's gonna be a good game, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it's gonna be like game of the year. And like it just beat out like it was like a Baldur's Gate sweep last year from like a lot of these like award shows.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it's the characters, and obviously the story plays a huge role too. But I think like the characters, from what I've heard, are just so well developed that I think it kind of broke through the mold. Because typically in like CRPGs, historically a lot of them, and I'm kind of harkening back to the original Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, didn't have a lot of voice acting. And the characters, obviously those games were made way way back, so like the characters could only look so good for the time. Like they didn't really have much voice acting. So like this to me is one of those situations, the perfect storm of like people are starved for a, like, I mean, first of all, D&D itself has blown up within the last like 10 years, and it's getting a
Definitely.
way huger reach than kind of it ever had. And then on top of that, it's like people are starved for like a very heavy story game where you can either A, self-insert, right? Where you're kind of plucking yourself into a story, and B, that just has like all around well developed characters that's party based. Cause like you have, FF16, right? No custom character. You have something like Starfield, the NPCs are meh, is the best way I can describe it. It's like this is a very unique game in the sense of like the characters. You know what it reminds me of truly is like you alluded to, Mass Effect, which is hilarious because
oh yeah,
Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 were made by BioWare. So it's like, okay, there's a through line here, but it's really funny to look back on that because like I've never played the original Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. I've played some of like the spin-off games, which have like that D&D through line of the setting and some things like that. But I've heard good things about the original's characters too. It's just, obviously the game itself maybe hasn't aged as super well as it could have, but I mean I've heard great things about its aging in general anyways. So would love to go back and check out the original two games, but yeah, I'm very excited for 3, and I think it's just gonna definitely put people on their toes in terms of like, hey, let's write better stories, let's make better characters. I
Yeah,
think
that's
it's
what I'm hoping for sure.
yeah.
all right, Cameron, you want to wrap it all up with your list of games you've been playing? I see a Tellier in there, 2 of them.
Oh yeah. Hey, there's two of them in there. Yeah. So, last episode I had kind of started at Atelier Aisha, which is the first of the Dusk trilogy that was made years ago, PS3 originally, and I ended up finishing it like I don't even remember the exact day. It was a few days ago. I finished it, and I would say overall, it's definitely the weakest of the stories of these games that I've played. This is now the third one I've completed. But we kind of talked about this on the last episode. It's not really 100% the stories I'm coming here for. It's mostly the gameplay and the like alchemy system that kind of catches my eye, just because it's so unique. The story is sort of second nature. These games are very slice of life, very like chill stories. This one, it's funny because like I had been recommended this Dusk trilogy as like sort of a more darker background for the series. And they, to be fair to the people that recommended me this, they do say that that sort of thing ramps up in the second and third games. But this first game was not by any stretch dark, I would say. I mean, like, there is some, a little bit more of an urgency to the story, I would say, than the other games had, and a little bit more, like, emotional aspect of that, but still very chill, very easygoing vibes. But I had a good time with it, and one of the other games I have on my playing is Atelier Escher and Logi, which is a mouthful to say, but
Yes.
it's the second game in that series, that Dusk trilogy, and I hopped in probably 2-3 hours. I've put into it, and it seems an improvement in every way over Aisha. So, kind of the running theme with this series is within these self-contained trilogies, or quadrilogies in some cases, you can kind of see like a marked improvement typically over the first game to the second to the third, and so on. And I'm definitely seeing that with this one. It already seems better than Aisha in terms of the story, already seems better in terms of the alchemy system. Kind of an interesting thing I didn't really discover till after I beat Aisha, because typically I like my opinions on games to be sort of unclouded as much as I can before I, finish them. And then I kind of do the deep dive on like the internet's opinions. I don't know how you guys, if you guys do something similar, but it was funny to see that there's some people, actually a pretty marked number of people online as well, as I think that the alchemy system in Aisha is actually one of the worst ones. So I would say overall that, Aisha for me was like one of the weaker entries in the series so far. But I am a context guy. I am a story guy. So I felt, even though the connection is loose between games in these series, I was like, I got to finish the first one before I jump to the second one. It was a pretty short game. I didn't even come close to hitting 20 hours on Aisha. I'm confident saying that. Without checking my time. And I'm glad I did, because already in the second game in this trilogy, I've run into a character from the first one. So I got my context. So
Yeah.
that was kind of nice. But yeah, no, this series is fun. It's easygoing. It's a nice chill, kind of my sports game equivalent, where I can just have a busy day at work, get off, and just play one of these games. Very briefly want to touch on RE4 Remake. We talked about it last episode, so I don't need to do a super deep dive, but I did want to mention I beat my replay of the game. Was very tempted to try my S plus speed run, but I'm not going to do that yet. I think I need some time away from RE4. We kind of said all we needed to about this game. It's amazing. It's definitely up there for me in the series. I'd probably put it right behind 2 Remake personally, but 4 Remake is great. Still need to play Separate Ways. Probably give it a little bit of a break and come back with that here in a few weeks or something. We'll see.
Yeah.
I've heard it's
I haven't
super
played
long.
the remake 4 yet, but I have already bought the DLC, and I'm ready
Nice.
to get going on that. I know I'm gonna love it.
Alexis, did you say you had played Separate Ways yet, or you hadn't yet? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, not yet. I'm gonna wait for like a 10% discount, like you said, because I'm in no rush to like play it.
Nice.
So I'll just wait for a discount. And yeah, RE4 Remake, one of the best games last year. Honestly, I think it's one of my like game of the years last year. So there we go.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. It's really fun. If I had one thing that, and this is the most minor of complaints, so it's really such a minor complaint, is my mind has truly been blown by the people saying that you're supposed to be able to afford the infinite rocket launcher on your second playthrough. I did a New Game Plus for this most recent playthrough, and I'm like, I have nowhere near the money required to get this damn thing. So my mind is blown by people who are like, oh yeah, buy the infinite rocket launcher in like chapter 4. I'm like, dude, I have like 1 million currency and I need 2 million. So like,
Yeah.
I have no idea what y'all are talking about, but
You can
I
always
don't
just
know.
buy it with real money.
True. Yeah, I could.
$5,
I could. Yeah, pay up. Yeah, no, I could do that. And then I kind of saved the best for last year. I don't know if you guys played Citizen Sleeper yet. I really liked this game. It's such a unique little game, little indie game that came out a while back, but I just now got to it. I beat it probably, I would say, less than 10 hours. Very short little game. Got a pretty solid story. Pretty fun little time management mechanic going on there too. I would say overall, very positive impression of this game. I do think it shows it's indie in some ways. Some of the game design is a little bit odd. For example, so sort of the way that it works is you get given like a sort of a central thing to focus on, and it puts it on a timer. The timer is incredibly generous. I actually struggle to even think of a scenario I wouldn't have been able to hit the timer, because like in almost every case, I finished it with like more than half the time on the clock still. So I'm like, I kind of don't really think that that's a huge barrier to the game. But if I did have something I was a little confused about, it's that the game itself is not super clear with its branching narrative. So you can there's pieces of the game where you can kind of choose to do this or that. And in some cases, you could do multiple and it won't block you off. And then in other cases, it just completely walls you off from like a path. And it just never makes that really clear. And I was like, it's kind of annoying, because I had kind of had my eyes on two different decision trees. I halfway committed to both, finished one before the other, and it kind of blocked me off. And I was like, well, I just wasted my in-game time, because it's obviously kind of a time management game in some aspects. I was like, I kind of wasted some of my time like getting down this path, and then it just completely walled that off. So that was kind of a little bit of a bummer, but very positive impression on this game. Like a little weird little space station with all these interesting characters that are in most cases trying to get off the space station, because it's kind of a bad place to live in many ways. And so kind of a cool little story. I don't know if either of you guys played Citizen Sleeper.
I have not. I've heard great things, and it is on my to-do list at some point in my life, maybe. But it is. I've heard great things about the narrative. I've heard great things about the decision-making. I don't know too much about it, so hearing you talking about it, though, is still, I'm learning new things every day. But I love narrative-based games. I love making decisions and kind of trying to sort out the gray in a lot of decision making, and it seems like Citizen Sleeper likes to do that. So it's definitely something that I have my eye on.
Yeah, I like the art style of this. It's like kind of like cyberpunk, and there's a second game coming out soon. So I don't know. I'll check into this. I'll put it like on my wish list. See if there's anything in there. I'll probably look up gameplay and I'll gauge based on that. So.
Yeah, it's very, don't know you guys' experience with visual novels. I don't have a ton myself, but I have played a few. It's very visual novel-y. Like, you're pretty much not doing, it's menu-based gameplay the entire time. Like, you're not doing quick time events. You're not doing, like, shooting or running around. Like, fully menu-based. You're reading a lot. It's a very, like I said, it's a very story-focused game, very character-focused game, but it's fun. I mean, like, I'm all here for these weird little games that have, like, a lot of experimentation in some ways where,
Totally.
It's just telling kind of a unique story with its own little unique time management system. Like, I really enjoyed my time with it. I texted pretty much everybody I know that games after I finished it up, and I was like, hey, check this out, and it's cheap. I mean, like, I think I got it on sale for $15, $15, and like typically on sale, I think 20. So it's pretty cool little game. Like I said, I think probably around It's obviously going to depend on your reading speed and how many like of the alternate paths you want to go down, but I think it's definitely less than a 10-hour game. So cool little game to check out. I had a lot of fun with it, but yeah, that was kind of my last game I wanted to talk about. Like I said, save the best for last because it was definitely a strong contender this year for what I've been playing so far. Top
Are
of
you
the
playing
line.
Are you playing on Steam or?
I actually played it on PS5, and they did a really good job with the. I'm glad you asked because they did a really good job with the menu navigating. I know that can always be kind of a pain on consoles versus PC, but it was on sale on PS5, so I got it on PlayStation and had a pretty good time with it. So,
Got you. Yeah, I'll probably pick it up on PS5 when it comes out. Maybe there's a sale. So, yeah, I mean that's everything we have today. That was a lot we discussed today with the news and our game impressions today. I don't know if you guys want to add anything else to the discussion except that football Sunday is tomorrow, so I'm excited for tomorrow's game. So I'm gonna be tuning in tomorrow, which I think the games are like later in the day, so I'll be there for sure. So like Cameron, any final thoughts?
yeah, no, definitely a big football guy myself. So always cool to hear the gamer sports crossover that in some cases is rare and others not as rare as people think. One thing I was specifically gonna kind of mention here is the more we distanced ourselves from talking about Tekken 8 from the beginning of the podcast, the more it's been growing in my head. Me thinking of playing Tekken 8. I don't know why. I've just been thinking a lot about Tekken 8 this episode, so maybe I'll check it out. So.
There's a demo. I tried it out.
Ooh,
It was
nice.
fun.
Yeah, I'm
I
down
like
with
the
that right
music
now.
too. So there you go.
Sweet.
And yeah, Henry, anything you want to say?
I think another great episode, boys. I think there's a lot on the horizon right now. We got Persona 3 remake coming out this week. It's less than a week.
Oh yeah.
I'm definitely going to be checking that out. After that, we're eating good for JRPGs this year. We got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth shortly after, and then we have, like the Persona team's got their new Metaphor Refantasio coming out later this year. I don't think there's enough time in a lifetime to get to all that stuff, but we're gonna try to make it happen. But I'm looking forward to that. So that's my 2 cents.
Same. Stacked February, stacked March. Can't wait. So thank you to everybody out there for listening to today's episode. Be sure to give us a rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts if you haven't done so already. And we will see you in the next Plug and Play podcast. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.